everybody, welcome back to HitPoint, an anime news show, a JRPG news show, a niche news show, a show where Baku and I will be talking about everything and anything that catches our interest and or ire. We'll be streaming live. We stream live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be previewing some trailers, talking to some pretty cool dudes, I can already tell, about their upcoming game, Alterium Shift. Oh man, I am absolutely stoked for this interview, guys, because I don't know if you guys remember this, but a long time ago, I reviewed, first impressions. I gave a first impressions review of Alterium Shift when it was just coming out in early access, and I really loved it. So I was super excited about it. They actually already saw that. I know it was a while ago, and I'm curious. I wonder, did I actually do anything?
Did you?
I don't know. I think I hope I don't know. I hope my input was helpful. I guess we'll have to find out. Well, I may in fact get a review of my review in today's show. We'll be previewing trailers, talking to some cool dudes, responding to super chats at the end of the show. And I nailed that intro with a slight diversion. That's called the weave. Did you know that, Baku?
Is that? There's a name for that?
No, nobody calls it that.
Did you just mix stuff up? Oh my god. Who would have thought?
No. So Baku, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great. I forgot to buy my caps and gowns for the graduation. So
when is your graduation?
In May. So I have some time, but it takes like 5 weeks for them to send it out apparently. So I'm like, ooh, okay. I gotta do this right now.
I was gonna say, I didn't miss your graduation, did I? No, okay.
Not.
Like, when is your graduation? Last week.
So there's going to be a Sunday show that we're not going to be able to have in May because the commencement's on Sunday and probably going to be out with family and whatnot. So, but we'll give you more details later. But yeah, no, I'm just cruising along, living life, dealing with this stuff. Right now, I'm streaming on Twitch. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza,
That's
game
right,
that
that's
I said,
out now.
Yeah, it is. And man, I'm just having a blast. Although, and this is sort of like the bad news, I think I played a little too hard and my tendinitis is coming back.
Hashtag gamer problems, man.
I just thought hashtag old age, but you know, that's your body just breaks down for no apparent reason now. Yeah. So I need to lay off the game for a little bit. I guess that's a good reason why they went into turn-based, because that wouldn't be a problem. It was a turn-based game.
Their play testers are getting old, and they're like, hang on, we need
to in my hand. Yeah. Yep. How about you, man? What's been up?
Oh, well, okay. I've already talked about it more than I don't really want to talk about it. Oh, that's what I'll say. You know, my dog's having some trouble. I don't really want to talk too much about it here. I did talk about it briefly in the JRPG Weekly update that came out yesterday. And if you want to check that out, go check it out. But otherwise, like, whenever something happens and you like have to rehash it like 70,000 times because like, you know, someone's like just showed up to the conversation. They're like, oh, what happened? And like, you explain it again. Somebody else comes up and they're like, oh, I heard that your dog's having some trouble. And you're like, yeah, sure is. So, you know what? Yeah, I got some dog back problems and it's sucking, but we're working through it. So,
hang in there, man.
Thanks, man.
Well, we can have some fun today.
Yes.
At least.
I know. And it's because we have some incredible guests. They were very flexible with us. I mean, they were incredible anyway, but also when we had to reschedule at the last minute, they were more than willing to put their plans on hold for us for that night, and join relatively last minute for this one as well. So everybody at home, join us in welcoming Drass and Mottzy. Now, where's I can only see one of you. What's going on here?
I'm the disembodied voice of the group, so it's okay.
Oh, he's still here. Okay. So joining us, we have Mottzy and Drass of Mottzy. I'm sorry, of Drattzy Games. Sorry, Drass, you're ejected.
I mean, you can't see me, so do I even exist?
I don't know. I don't have object permanence, so. Yeah, and they are co-creators, co-founders of Drattzy Games, the creators and developers and workers in progress on making Alterium Shift. Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you here.
It's great to be here. Where are these really amazing guests you're talking about? Are we going to get to meet them too? Or
I mean,
I don't know about him, but I think I'm pretty amazing. So,
oh man, well, it is a pleasure to have you guys on here. And I mean, I would probably not be the first to say that I feel very astute and observant to notice that the name of your studio, Drattzy Games, is in fact a Dragon Ball Z style fusion dance of your two names.
yes, we thought long and hard about this name.
It's perfect. I have noticed that. So how long did it take to master the fusion dance? And
yeah, the great part about naming things is that it really doesn't matter as long as you build a brand. I've learned over time you can spend hours and it doesn't matter. And so when we did our first game we did together, which was just a game jam game, we said let's just mash our names together and throw it out there. And then it just kind of stuck, you know.
Perfect. I mean, honestly, I spend so much time branding stuff. It's kind of ridiculous. It's one of my faults. But you know, could you tell us a little bit about like how you both came together to form Voltron here?
Yes, and we told you guys before we started this, I do tend to do a lot more talking.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to make Drass do a little bit, but I'll start with this. It's actually a story that was born from him. We had known each other through the Smile Game Builder forums on Discord. This is a really niche game editor, kind of like RPG developer or RPG maker. And he's like, oh, we should do something together. So we did a game jam together and it just really clicked. He did the visuals. I did the technology stuff, the coding and programming. I even did sort of the storyline of what we were building. And because that success and we felt like we did something really good together, he came up with this really neat visual idea for a game. He said, look at this thing I'm making. I was like, oh, that looks like a 2D game, but with high fidelity, right? It looks like a 2D game, but with depth to it. And I was super intrigued. So for Christmas that year, 2020, the end of 2020, I gave him some art packs from this artist named Celio the Shaper. And then he took it and started building more and more out of this idea. And he kept feeding me material. And he's like, I wonder if I can rope Mottzy in on this, which is a little evil plan. And then eventually I'm like, okay, we got to do something with this. And it's just, I'm getting chills thinking about it because I just remember that moment where he showed me a scene with the water and, you know, just a basic character. I'm like, wow, this has a huge impact. And this is even refined as an idea. So we went from there. And I guess, you know, Drass can maybe speak more to about what he was thinking at the time.
Yeah. So
yeah, you go ahead. No, yeah, he hit it on the hit the nail on the head there. I mean, basically everything. When he gave me those packs, I was like, dude, stop. But I secretly welcomed it. I was like going all in. I was just all in on it.
I love it. So was this game that you're talking about for the Game Jam, was that a Flame of Hope or was that something different?
No, that actually Flame of Hope came after the we started working on Alterium Shift. We made a game called Out of Hen Troll. It was a fox in a hen house idea where you had to escape this hen house with these hens that are like controlling you, and it's a Matrix style where you have to somehow get out of it. It was just a small little game jam idea.
Okay. So what is a Flame of Hope, and is it like a precursor to, I mean, not to gloss over the Game Jam game itself, but I saw a little bit of Flame of Hope and I'm like, how did I not know about this already?
that was kind of my pet project. I
Yeah.
created it so the Smile Game Guilder community held a game jam on their own, and I'm close friends with a few of the people there, and I was like, you know what, I'll just join it, just kind of as my last hurrah, because I knew Alterium Shift was going to get pretty serious. So I was like, I'm just going to throw this game out there. I got some help from Mottzy with some of the Unity code in it, just to help make it a little, a little more flashier, because we used some of the code that we already started for Alterium Shift in Flame of Hope. So,
I did notice that it looks like there might be a little bit of crossover, at least visually, stylistically. Is there any crossover in other ways, like storyline, like little maybe hidden little nods here or there too, or anything like that? Or am I
I
fishing
think
in
we
the wrong
used
well?
a couple of the enemies. You might see some of
Yeah.
those pop up.
But if you're sort of seeking some kind of lore-based verification on
Yeah.
whether there's some story behind it,
Mhm.
I can neither confirm nor deny. Although I can actually confirm that there isn't a strict association between the two.
Okay.
The visual
Mhm.
style and some ideas are similar, but the game itself has a whole different tone and theme to it than Alterium Shift. So they are two distinct little stories. It doesn't mean we won't ever touch Flame of Hope again either. That's still on the table, but it wasn't, in the same universe as
I see.
Alterium Shift.
Yeah. Multiverse theory. I love it.
Well, yeah, there is some of that for sure.
So I guess, what were some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced so far as kind of this small, is it mainly just the two of you right now?
Just the two of us. Yeah, it's mostly us.
Yeah.
Even though even on our website you see a bunch of other people, those are our contractors that do little bits here and there, right? I mean, we don't have a lot of money to spend on
Mhm.
this. But from the beginning, it's been him and I working on this, and we have most of the time had our own full-time jobs we had to do during the day, right? And
Yeah.
in my day, I'm a chief technology officer, so I had lots of stuff to do. Jacob has had a technology type of job as well, and one of the biggest challenges is not having made a major game before, having to learn a lot of things the hard way.
Yeah.
I know people that have been in the industry for 20 years, and they're like, "Oh, why aren't you doing it this way, Mottzy?" It's like I don't know. Tell me more about how I can do better. I mean, just the fact that we had to pivot a lot on our plans. We started with a
Yeah.
small scoped project. It got really interesting and really exciting, so we had to expand our scope. We got a
Uh-huh.
publisher. We had to try and meet tight deadlines. We ended up terminating that publisher. Now we're in the phase of trying to get this out the door. And there's just
Yeah.
so many things we've had to juggle along the way that have made this hard, but also rewarding.
So the classic tale of scope creep kind of derailed the timeline.
Yes. But like the funny part is I think about some other people who make games and they do the whole plan up front for the most part. This is the game
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to make. This is the one I've been dreaming about. And that's not how this game even started. It
Mhm.
started with, we really like the visual style. Let's make something from this. And then we organically grew it from the mechanics and the notions we wanted to impart. And what's fun about that is we have flexibility, and I think we've made something that fits together really well. We're not trying to force, round peg into a square hole. What's hard about that is managing all the changes over time, right?
Yeah.
And also kind of achieving something that people really want to play. The bugs and all, we get lots of people, this isn't exactly like I want. It's like, I understand. And here's what we're working on to try and help address some of this. However, some of this stuff wasn't part of the overall scope in the beginning. So we're having to adjust and, really hone in on what people will love.
Ah. Yeah, that sounds like a whole other classic tale of like setting expectations and yeah, and people having their own expectations. Everybody at home, make sure you hype responsibly, okay?
I mean, RPGs, man, the retro style RPGs, people have their favorites, and we don't completely align with all of them, or even the new modern ones. We don't do what all the new modern games do,
Mhm.
and people want that. So
Yeah.
sometimes we're like, well, should we do this feature or not? If it fits within the style, we might, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't, we might just say, hey, we understand that's not your style, but this is This is what this game is about.
This is our game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
But
that.
it's not, you know, it's interesting, and I'm going to sort of take over for just a second.
Uh-huh.
This is not our game from the sense of our pure vision, right? We have our vision, but it's a game we want people to play. And one thing about our perspective, I even talked on my stream about last night, was even though we have vision of what we want to do, we accept that we're not making this game so we can play it all the time.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it so people who love the genre and like the little jokes and like the style and the ideas, that they will enjoy it. So when we're crafting these levels, we're not saying this is how exactly I want it. I'm always thinking, how will somebody experience this area? What will they find funny about this? Which is, to me, more fun than just making the game I want to make, because I don't think people would like my games personally. or Jacob, maybe
surprised.
Jacob's,
You'd be surprised.
Who knows, right?
Oh man.
I mean, I enjoyed the little jokes that you threw in there when I test played the game, and I was telling Derek about like I checked that closet for like 20 times, and there were 20 different dialogues.
Yes.
Yeah, I had
There'll
fun.
be a lot more about that in the final version of the game too.
I
We have
can't
more
wait.
paths to do.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what you're saying though about like how not necessarily all games are for all people. So in the spirit of that, what's a really popular game that that you just really hate? Just kidding. We don't have to do that. I'm kidding.
I don't know if I'd hate a game. I
No.
would say this, but I will say this: there are a lot of games out there people love. So I wouldn't even gainsay what they love in the genre. And the things that I look for in a game is I don't want to be bogged down by story unless it's interesting. So I don't love games that start out with extensive intro sequences that I can't escape. I want story to make sense, and I want there to be some humor and logical structure to it.
Yeah.
So games that don't do that really are less interesting to me. I don't care about mechanics as much. Mechanics are interesting, but they're not the thing that really drives me. So
gotcha.
what's interesting to me is there's some games out there that are beautiful games. Everyone loves them, really popular. I don't hate those games, but the components that I like are not there. And it's like, I want our game to address that piece, right?
I feel
I
you.
want the mechanics, but I also want these other pieces I feel like other games miss out on.
Yeah. And that's such a intrinsic balance to try to strike, is like the story and the gameplay. It's a balancing act to a degree, but also like they're both necessary. But there's also like a group that's like they're there for the gameplay, and then there's a group that is they are there for the story. Yeah. And of course it's not two separate circles. This is a Venn diagram of course, but it's just interesting to see people like talk about trying to strike that balance, right?
Yeah. And the balance is interesting because me and Drass, I call him Jacob because that's his name too, but I always call him Jacob instead of Drass. He and I have different styles for these style of games. He's the kind that just wants to get from point A to point B. I'm the kind that will check everything in a room. And so when we get into these debates about how to make the players enjoy the game, he's like, I don't care about any of that. I just want to get where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so we always have to balance our own perspectives on that. Hence why when you go and explore areas, you'll find things that are mostly written by me, because I'm like, I want to do that. What if you talk to the fireplace 5 times? What's going to happen? And Drattzy is like, well, there's a shop. I want to buy stuff and leave.
Yeah.
How do I get in and out?
So
you're the reason why I couldn't get out of town for like the first like 2 hours.
Yeah. We have legitimately had complaints about that. Someone said, I hate that you have so many things to interact with because now I want to check everything. I was like, okay, but don't kill yourself over that. Most of them aren't
sounds
special.
like a great problem to have there. First world problem. Too many dialogues that are optional.
Yeah.
Well,
So, and I think that does lead into, one of the questions that I had, which is like, what are some of your core design philosophies behind Alterium Shift? Like when it comes to designing interactions, designing the world of Alterium Shift, like what are some of your guideposts here?
Yeah, we actually have like a pitch deck that we were using that has the pillars. A lot of times you want to make the pillars of the game that you can build around. So one of the major pillars of the game is a living world. We wanted the game to feel like you were in it. And I think that also goes against what you would expect from a classic 2D game, only for the fact that it's flat. Even the games that try not to, they still look a little flat. And they
Yeah.
don't have interactions everywhere, right? So modern Western RPGs that are 3D, you can, like Oblivion and stuff, you can just interact with anything, right?
Yeah. You pick up a coin on the table and throw it across the room. Yeah.
Exactly. Now you can't get that full effect from a retro style game, but we want more than just a town that looks pretty. We want it to feel like you're in it. And there's more elements we'll be adding that will enhance that even further. But the idea that you can talk to someone twice and they'll give you a different response, that's not, classic retro. They'll just keep saying the same thing in classic games. So that living world is really what we're trying to give to people. This idea that if you play it, you'll get a different experience than someone else that plays nearly the same way, because people will respond differently if you talk to them more. If you choose one different option than another, you'll get slightly different responses. So it's not the same game for everybody.
Yeah.
And we expand that everywhere, right? I mean, the retro aesthetic is definitely one of our pillars, and weird noises happening above me. And I can't remember what our other ones were off the top of my head, but I should know them, but those are the major ones. But those pillars are what we guide when we go back and look and say, does this fit what we're trying to accomplish? And if it's not, then we question whether we should be adding it. The other thing we try to follow is we try not to handhold people through everything in the game. And honestly, this is a me thing, because Drattzy would say, well, why don't we just put a little marker there, right? And I'd say, why don't we just design the game better so they know where they're going, right? So my design philosophy is, if you have to put something there that tells someone where to go, you've lost your ability to design a game, and you're just essentially cheating. Right?
Yeah, I think that's called invisible design, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, that's the perfect technical term.
Yeah. So, it has occurred to me that I completely spaced one of the things that I normally like to start these interviews off. I was so excited to talk to you guys. And now that you've simmered those, I'm just kidding. Now that I've remembered, I normally like to show off the trailer for everybody. I mean, we've had this little, postage stamp of the game playing here in the background, but let's go ahead and take a look at this game together, or this trailer. We got one that's it's about a minute long from the Winter Games Expo, and we'll just watch that real quick, and then get the audience a feel for the game as it stands relatively recently, and then we'll come back for some additional questions here. Just a second here. Let's see if I can. There we go. Can't believe I forgot to rewatch the trailer, man. This looks so good.
Can't wait to hop back into this.
I know.
When it's ready and out and...
Oh, look, it's got a fishing minigame. That means it's a real JRPG.
It is real.
Wait, did I see...
Yeah.
You can pet the dog?
Yes, you can pet the dog.
Yes.
And the dog will follow you, in fact.
That is a 10 out of 10.
Will it fight for you? Maybe not.
TBD.
We'll have to figure that out. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, wait, there's more to that trailer.
Look at that art. See those characters? They look different, don't they?
They do. Wait, I gotta...
Back up and hype responsibly. Come on.
Go back. I'm trying. Hang on. Let's take two.
You know the current characters are a little...
Okay,
one way.
gotta wait here. Those look so good.
Yeah, that's the new pixel art we're working on for the...
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. All right.
Wrong scene.
Oh, yep. There. Let's bring him back.
There you go. Hey, welcome back, Mottzy.
Nice, you guys.
Yeah, interview over. No.
Interview over. We're sold. Goodbye.
Good, I got work to do, so
So that
stay less.
Now that trailer did wind up mentioning the Kickstarter, and I would be remiss to like not just use that as an entry point to just kind of bring back the Kickstarter. I have everybody in the chat or watching afterwards. I did throw in a link to the Discord to the Kickstarter, as well as their Steam page, which, I mean, if you're not going to support them on Kickstarter, you may as well go wishlist the game on Steam. I mean, you're here. You're halfway there already. You may as well do it.
We won't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm glad some people have the same references that I do. The Hurley boy. Oh, it's wonderful. So, now my next question though that I had up on the list here. It's a little bit of a self-serving question, I think, but I have to ask. So about a year ago, when I first played the game, I made my own first impressions video talking about how awesome this game was, and I provided a little bit of feedback and stuff. And I was just curious if any specific changes or choices that you've implemented since then were a result of any of the feedback that I personally provided.
Well, first off, I'd like to say, if I wanted to take the classic indie studio perspective, I am offended that you provided us with feedback. How dare
Perfect.
you?
Love it.
No, so one thing I was talking with Jacob about, which I found interesting, is we get a lot of feedback all the time. And I think people believe that we hadn't thought about most of these things. And then if I look back to the first year of our design, a lot of things people tell us, like, why didn't you do this? Why doesn't this? It's like, actually, that was within the first 6 months we thought of that idea.
Yeah.
And we just chopped all the scope out of it, right? We was like, oh, we're going to do this or we're not going to do that. So I did rewatch your video just to make sure I remembered what you had to say. Ironically, a lot of the things that you say need to happen, they haven't happened yet, but they're on our list. But not because we said we're not going to listen to Derek. We fixed a lot of bugs. So we launched early access earlier than we wanted to, just to be clear. And
I think you actually resolved a bug that I reported to you guys early on when I was like playing through it and got stuck in like I want to call it a water temple. I don't think it's a water temple, but yeah, you were really quick.
We call it the water temple. It's actually just a water processing plant, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We fixed a lot of things. We made more bugs, but we typically are trying to keep the ratio to more fixes to bugs introduced. We fixed a lot of bugs since we've launched the early access. We've made some really foundational changes to the product that did come at the cost of content progress. But I think that ultimately having the game work consistently and smoothly is really valuable, right? The content can come, but if things are broken, they're broken. You can't play the game any further. So we fixed a lot of bugs. We made some a large number of enhancements actually to the system and the game. Even just things like, it's not like major, but you can nudge the camera around, right? People complain that it's too tight of an angle and they want to be able to look around the corner. Well, they have a way now to nudge the camera. So we did lots of little things to make the game feel and work better. Then, combat, we're totally overhauling that right now. It's long coming, right? There'll be fully on map battles. There's not going to be this switching to another scene. And I've actually, when I stream it, I kind of work a little bit and show people what I'm doing, but it's going to be really fun because, unlike even 2D games, you got one static view, but when you have a 3D game, you can do things like shift the entire battle zone around. So you can have an on-map battle that moves the camera around to where you're going to fight. So we have really fun things coming, but it's just a really complicated problem to solve, which is why it's not ready yet. We have the I'll move my list over here. So I'm looking off the screen. Fishing, you saw that. That fishing minigame is actually done. It's not in the current product because we need to test it and we need to roll it out to every single place that you can fish. And then they set up the stock of fish and all that stuff. But it's a whole different fishing mini game where you actually reel the fish in and you can see it moving with you.
Wait, there's two fishing mini games?
There's a current fishing mini game. There's one that currently exists, which is very simple. That's been there since the demo.
Okay. So there's an other more different fishing mini game.
Yes.
Okay.
The new fishing mini game, which you saw in the trailer, is more akin to some of the modern ideas. Where you right there, you see it right there on the little picture where you cast a line and then you try to trick a fish into biting the line and then you reel the fish in, right? And then there's certain criteria that will affect how the fish responds or whether you are able to catch them. If your rod isn't strong enough, it might break and things like that.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So those are two major things that we're looking to get out on our next release, which we'll see the timing because of the Kickstarter. It's kind of thrown us off a bit.
I understand. That's so cool. You had me a little bit excited there when I thought I had access to 2 fishing mini games at the same time. That would be a bold choice. I haven't seen that done in any other RPG up to this point. I'm not saying you'd be the first.
We could make an optional, like, simple version and the complex version.
I mean,
keep the old, put in the new.
Well, you do the one to do the normal rewards. You do both in order to get like the ultimate weapon that defeats the end game boss. Of course, that is how that works.
Call your people. We'll talk more about that.
Oh, okay. Speaking of people giving you unwanted opinions. How do you find a balance between implementing feedback versus your original vision? And how often do you find that they're at odds? I know we kind of already touched on this a little bit, but like...
Yeah, it's a good question. And, going back to your final bits of feedback even had to do with game balance and stuff. Like, a game isn't balanced, it's too easy. Yeah, that stuff happens at the end, right? You don't balance a game before you're ready for it. So we know that all has to happen. But usually what we have found is with almost 90% accuracy, we know all the things people want. I'm not even making this up.
I believe it.
We had all of our plans in place, and then we said we're not going to worry about that unless someone complains. And then when they complain, we're going to start worrying about it, because not that they hate it, but just they want something to be better. We're like, okay, we're hearing enough feedback that we need to address this.
Yeah.
So we thought about all the ideas under the sun, and then when we start seeing people say they want something that we maybe weren't planning to prioritize, we pull it up into our priority list. Yeah. But it's very, very rare that someone comes up with an idea we didn't already consider to some degree, because it's just how we think. Some examples of things we thought of and then I was really, really against was the notion of things like health bars in battle.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't added that yet. We have the way to do it, but we haven't yet done it. It'll come in the next battle update. But I didn't want to do that. I grew up with games that didn't provide that for you.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it because we saw people say it makes sense for the style of game.
I could see that, yeah. I could see that, yeah. Man, and I do have to actually say that the thing about making a first impressions video about a game that is still in progress is a lot of times it's not really feedback for the developers, but it's to help set expectations for when my people play the game and experience it. They don't just think, well, he didn't even mention that, such and such and such. And like, well, I have to be exhaustive. But when I played the game, I knew that you guys have a solid direction, and I was so excited. Of course, I was so excited, and I hope that came through in that first impressions video, regardless of the nits that I was required to pick. So
I mean, I honestly thought you were trying to go easy on us or something. I was like, you could be a little meaner if you want.
We're used to it. It's okay.
It's
cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we've been
make a meaner video next time.
Uh-oh.
That's the feedback to you.
So yeah, I know. Gosh, has it already been a half hour? I need to move along this list of questions. I have too many questions to ask.
So many questions.
Sorry.
What?
I said sorry. I apologize.
Oh, I know. It's okay. I accept your apology. As long as I have a way to have a playable cat join my party later on.
Well, we'll start working on that right meow.
Yeah, don't get me started. So Alterium Shift is Alterium Shift. I need to adjust my inner monologue here. Is set in the world of Alteria. what were some of your primary inspirations behind the lore and backstory of Alterium Shift?
It's a good question. So I think I was going to make Drass start about that, but I think you would probably prefer me do that, right, Drass?
Yeah, this is more your thing here.
All right.
I'll join in later.
Okay. So there's a couple layers of motivation. First off, the idea came from the notion that you can move a camera in a world that looks like it's a 2D game.
Yeah.
Because when I grew up playing games, I always wanted to know what was behind things. Which in a 2D game, there's nothing behind it, right? Usually it's just facade, essentially. And I love the notion that we could shift the world around. We called it flipping at the time, but shifting makes a better term. And so everything that we were thinking of was this notion of a world that's presented to you as a classic, RPG, and then behind everything, there's something completely different. Not like going through just a portal, like literally the world just shifts around and there's stuff behind it. So originally we wanted the idea that every scene was shiftable, but that's a lot harder to map than it is to do specific areas. And so the whole storyline is based on that concept. The political environment of our country has been very interesting, and at the time we also recognized that there are people who live in their nice little place on top of the mountain, and they don't really know what's going on around them, right? And that's kind of where you start. And originally it was going to be like right down at the bottom of the hill, there was some dark elves living down there that were in poverty or something, and no one knew about it because it was behind everything. It's not quite like that now. Like the whole way the story has evolved has turned much more into the fantasy notion, where you have this kind of broad scope of characters and this world that has a history to it. So the motivation of the story started there, and then it grew organically based upon how some of the mechanics would work, and how the characters started growing and fitting together, and how we started trying to make the history fit to where they are. So there's a lot more to it now. There's way more to it, and we start getting into things like multidimensional concepts and some of the other goodies in there.
But even based on like coming from a concept like that, I can see how easily that would lend itself to some dark twists of perspective to kind of seed themselves in the storytelling of this game. So that's so cool.
My personal story writing motivation comes from that idea when you have a story where you perceive some other as being evil and bad. This not too much of a spoiler because there's more to it than this too. But then you get into it and you realize it's not, there's more nuance to it, right? There's not just one bad and one good, right? There's a lot more.
Until you get even deeper, and then you realize you were right the first time.
Yeah, or like you were the bad guy all along, right?
reverse psychology. Oh, okay.
I mean,
the
how many shifts
Shyamalan.
can you make, right?
I don't know. I only drive a 5-speed, so. So, in this game, there are also 3 protagonists, 3 different kind of character arcs that the game follows through. How does that present? I mean, that has to be kind of tricky because they're not always together. Like there's 3 different like storylines through this game, right? And how much complexity does that add to like keeping track of different plot threads? Like at this point, this person is over here doing this thing, and over here there's something else going on. Like how much added like difficulty is there in keeping that like a canon or a timeline? What's the word?
Consistency?
Yes.
Continuity?
That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah. It's honestly not hard. It's just 3 different games in one, basically, right? It's like the same template of a game, but with 3 different character storylines. It's not exactly that simplistic, but the way it works when you choose your main character, that's that character's story.
Yeah.
So every time we had to start over as one of the characters, we looked at it from that character's perspective. So you start in 3 different places. Each character has their own personality they apply to it, and then your interactions are for that experience. So it's not as hard to track the differences between choosing a different main character yet. There will be some complexities later, but it is hard to have to go and build a story that has some variance, but then ultimately has to come together in the end. You got to have some way to push them all in the same direction. There aren't 3 wildly different endings per character. There are multiple endings, but not in the way you think they are. So that's not really the complexity, honestly. It's more about how to make it interesting that people are going to want to play as the 3 different characters. How do you make it so that your experience, even though it's in the same place, is unique and
That's a great
interesting?
question. How do you do that?
With a lot of work. I mean, right now the word we think we're at like 50,000 words or more, 50 to 60,000 words. And you probably, most people will never experience all of them because of all the different branching dialogues and sort of randomization. Some places you can get jokes, just keep talking to it, and it'll cycle through a bunch of random jokes.
Yeah.
So you do it by having specific things that the character themselves can only get access to, or by making, key characters, ones that have completely different dialogues, or making quests that only that one character can get. So it kind of adds that flavor. And then just doing a lot of work. Each character, some of them will just talk to you differently. People say, oh, if it's Pyra, then say these things, right? And it's, I had to build a whole system in order to handle it, which helps, but it's just a lot. And that's all it is work. I don't know what else to say.
That is really cool, though.
So
go for it,
the
Baku.
Intention? Like, is the intention for like a player to like go through this like start to finish 3 times, or is this sort of like, no, you're gonna do this in one playthrough and you kind of shift between characters, shifting? Like what's the intention? Like, what's the intended play like cycle looks like?
Well, going back to something we said earlier, that not everybody wants to play games the same way. It is meant to be somewhat flexible. You can play the game through as one character, beat the game, and be happy with yourself and move on. You can play the game all the way through with one character and go back and then play the next one and play the next one. It is intended to encourage some character swapping during the game. So you get to a certain point, and the demo actually shows us, you get to that special yellow node, and that allows you to change a color that then opens certain doors or makes certain chests unlock. You're like, oh, now I got to go back as this other character in order to get access to this special treat. And the intent is the first time you play it will be the most effort, and then we'll have some mechanics in here that make it so you can essentially recycle or borrow or absorb experience points or otherwise from other saves, essentially. Because if you haven't noticed, we just don't have any limit on the number of saves. A lot of RPGs like you 3 saves and that's it. We just have infinite saves, as much hard drive space as you have. But then to absorb that or deal with that, there will be a mechanic that lets you or encourages you to essentially steal from your other saves.
That's
there
interesting.
will be like cross save mechanics for sharing items. There'll be certain notions where when you have to go back to a completely new character, you can still essentially pull in some value from your previous, completely other character.
Yeah.
How that mechanic exactly going to work, that's a fine tuning thing we've got to work on. But that's how we kind of envision it, is someone's going to play through all the way and they'll be like, wait a minute, I could have gone back as so-and-so. Oh, let me try that. And then they'll start seeing, oh, I can do this with this. Wait a minute. I don't have to get everything. I don't have to collect everything in order to achieve certain things. I can go back later as a different save and then just give different responses to somebody to get some special thing. Because, everyone wants that, right? You want to get the completionist, but you always hate that you have to go back as a whole new save to get it.
Yeah.
So we're not even going to bother with that. We're not going to make a game that's open where you can just always get everything at all the time, but we are going to make it so you can go back as a different save and get whatever you want, and then push it forward even, which I really like. I love this idea because I really don't like it when I miss something in a game and now I have to somehow go back and get it or start a whole new save.
Like play through the entire thing to get back to that point.
Right. If the game is geared towards players having to go back and play as other characters, we want to make it feel not only worthwhile, but not like it's a chore. We want to make it feel fun and interesting. So we're going to bake that into the mechanic. But
Yeah,
I'm really
that's so
excited. Like we've been
important.
playing with it a little bit, but we have to really dig in on, some of the ins and outs of it.
That's so cool. And I think that our audience here are really going to appreciate it because I think that we're all pragmatic enough to know that like we don't have the same unlimited time to play games as we did when you were in like third grade on summer break or something, and you had to play through Chrono Trigger 17 times to see everything because
Yep.
that was the only game you had anything left that you hadn't experienced anything in yet. So that's so cool because living in 2025, my backlog is massive and indies are coming to rescue me from that. So I really appreciate that. So I wanted to move along to talking a little bit about some of the technicals here, a little bit of the implementation side of things, because this is a really unique kind of game where it blends both. I mean, obviously, like just look at this game. It's beautiful for one, absolutely gorgeous, but also it is not just it's not an HD 2D game a la Square Enix. It's definitely something else because it's still got that pixel retro look, but it is in like an actual like three-dimensional environment, and that dimensionality plays a role in the shifting mechanic as you said before. So but there's actually like three-dimensional planes that you have to be able to navigate here. How do you make that work exactly? I mean, I guess from a 1,000-foot view rather than
Yeah, exactly.
Let me walk you through every single aspect of how we create our game, from pixel to
We have
3D
time.
model.
We have time. If you've got time to deal with, we have time.
I think for me, when I was first creating the world for Alterium Shift, it was a culmination of experience. I have done 3D modeling for a number of years. I've always wanted to do a PS1 style game. Just in the back of my head, I'm just like, I love that play of pixel art and 3D environment, right? And so just over the years, I learned how to create those things. Alterium Shift is just the culmination of all that experience that I built up, taking pixel art and creating 3D models from that.
That so you've had some like kind of inspirations from PlayStation 1 era.
Correct.
So when I think of that, games that come to my mind are games like Breath of Fire 3, Grandia. What kind of game, like which games specifically were you kind of having in mind when playing around with this era, this PlayStation 1 era of RPG?
Yeah, definitely. I loved Breath of Fire 4's art style. It's timeless. I mean, you still
So
boot that
good.
game up and it just looks absolutely beautiful. The palette that they used was amazing. And so it holds up today. I'd say that's when it comes to a PS1 game and how it looks, that's what's in my head is Breath of Fire 4. Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
That's pretty quintessential, man. And it is some of the, even today, some of the best pixel art that I've ever seen. Man, I love it so much. And so I guess one of the other questions I had is, what role does the sound design and actually the music in general here, how do you use that to inform the atmosphere of Alteria? And are there any like unconventional approaches that you took to kind of using sound to build the world?
So I think from my perspective, when I create a game, I'm always listening to music. And so the only thing that I listen to when I create stuff is actually music from JRPGs, which is kind of funny and ironic because I'm making one.
I love it.
But I love it as well. And so games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, those games really rely a lot on their soundtrack to breathe emotion into the game.
Yeah.
I feel like we wanted to do something very similar and take some melodic approaches to the game where, you'll hear the same similar melody throughout the game, but it's played out differently depending on where you are. And you'll I think and hope people will recognize that. And our composer, Jonathan Shaw, he's done an amazing job to work with us on that. He is inspired by games like Golden Sun as well. So, I mean, I feel like the mixture that we have there really definitely helps bring our world alive with the music and the melodies that we use to enhance it.
Well,
That's
I want to
so
add
cool.
to that just briefly, because when we talk about this, he was the one that proposed this idea that when you go into a building, that should remove some instruments so it
Oh
sounds like
yeah,
it's a little muffled. I don't know if
yeah.
you noticed that.
Mm.
I can't remember if he applied it everywhere, so we still have to go and double check that. But he's like, yeah, I could just take some instruments out, and then you'll have a feeling of a slightly different sound from what it sounds like when you're out walking in town, which is great. Like he's got a lot of motivation for this. The whole soundtrack is his. And his style just fits exactly the type of feel we're looking for that experience.
I love that. And I know I always notice it when a game does stuff like that, but I cannot for the life of me remember a game that does that. Like I can't, but it always adds that little bit of like, oh, I'm inside, and now it's like calmer. You know, things are a little
Right.
bit quieter. It's you know, you go back outside and it's bright and lively and overwhelming, and it's like, oh my god, I'm in the world. I love it.
Yes, exactly. It really adds to the ambiance.
Oh man. So, could you discuss some of the technical choices, I guess, behind implementing some of the on map abilities, like being able to shoot arrows as shown on camera here just a second ago, or you know, how I guess that seems like that'd be really difficult to do. and how do you
Yeah,
ensure that? Yeah, go ahead.
we made things a lot more difficult for ourselves because we're building on top of an existing engine. Like I said, some of my developer friends would be saying, "Why don't you just build it in Unity? Why are you doing it, by working through another engine?" And a lot of that has to do with the quickness in which we could build the product, right?
Yeah.
There's more work for me because I have to learn it and then enhance it. And the on-map abilities, some of them feel a little bit clunky right now because we're trying to work through another engine.
Hmm.
I will be fixing that, by the way. But the on-map abilities themselves, the ones that you see currently in the game, are meant as a way to control access to areas based on your main character. That
Yeah.
is a classic mechanic in RPGs where you can't get past a certain area until you get some ability or skill, right?
Hmm.
And so we applied that to every character. And we thought, because we're looking at this uniqueness of feel, every character has to have their own ability. And so Pyra can whack things with her spear. Atlas can shoot things with the arrow, and Sage actually has the ability to discover stuff with their little laser
Oh,
light shooting things.
cool.
So everyone has their own thing, but the one thing that we haven't talked about a lot is that they will also have a secondary ability, which is more of a free form version. So, for instance, Atlas will be able to just randomly shoot things however he wants to, which will apply to the on map combat. So you could shoot people, shoot monsters before battle starts. Or Pyro will be able to whack things or use a slice type of attack, which she could maybe slice grass or other things around, right? Break things
Yeah.
open and find some extra stuff. And so, it's not technically challenging, really. The technical challenge is our own making of having to work through the engine, and the performance stuff will come as part of just the regular polishing aspect of the work. I'm less concerned about that, more about making sure that it feels right and people enjoy the experience. Because
Mhm.
you add too many things and it might be overwhelming, but it feels like it fits. The whole idea of this game is it's not just your static RPG where you walk from point A to point B, fight some monsters, and then you go to the next thing, right? There's more things that you can do to explore and experience the world. And that's why we added these sort of ideas. So you get this feeling of difference and uniqueness and, really get to expand your character, not just by how you talk, but how you interact with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to interact with the world kind of just helps it feel more like a well-defined existing world, which is one of the things that you're at the top of the show. We're talking about trying to make it feel like you're actually in the town or in the world, trying to add that, and being able to interact with those things is how
Yes.
you can help achieve that. That's so cool. So right now, Alterium Shift is in early access, but you also have it on Kickstarter right now as well, correct?
Correct.
So it's in early access, and I know that. So I guess I think that you guys had been talking a little bit about how you're working on balancing the people who have like kind of purchased the game in early access versus the people who are backing on Kickstarter. Did you guys want to talk about that? How you're trying to balance that?
Oh yeah, yeah. And we actually tried to actively avoid doing a Kickstarter. That's why we went with the publisher originally,
Mm-hmm.
and for various reasons, we ended up amicably terminating with them.
Sure.
But without the ability to fund our efforts, everything's just really hard to move forward. Right? We both have full-time jobs. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got families, and just it's hard to squeeze time in for that. And so we realized that the only way we're going to be able to push through the finish line in any sort of time frame is by getting a Kickstarter out there. We
Yeah.
knew going into that people who already bought early access might feel left out. Like, oh, why did I support this game in early access if they're doing a Kickstarter? So that has its double-edged sword, right? One
Yeah.
advantage is you can look at the game and see what's supported. You can see we've been supporting it. There's all sorts of fixes out there. We respond to people on the boards. So it's not like it's a vaporware. You know
Right.
that it exists. It's a solidly existing game. But if you paid for it already, you feel like, well, why did I spend so much money? And so we implemented a verification system. We have a link on our website.
Mhm.
We've been sending out to people that they can go and validate that they own the game. And if they do that, they'll get some free rewards, digital rewards, like postcards that no one else is going to get, digital postcards, or special credits in the game if they back the Kickstarter too. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember all of them, but they're all digital rewards because
Mhm.
they bought the game digitally. So we're doing that, and then we're also adding them into our what we're calling our VIP program, which is anybody who supported the Kickstarter before we started with a survey, and anyone who's bought the game before, they will get extra rewards as part of the Kickstarter funding and fulfillment. So we've already sent all the communications out about that, and I know that
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily assuage everybody's concerns. Some people, have uh, you know besmirched our name. They don't like us anymore, and they think we're they use certain terms that we don't want to repeat. But
Gotcha.
we do the best that we can, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We try to connect with people, and we try to do the best to make good on things. And if it doesn't work, we don't hate people for feeling that way. We know how this industry is, but we're hoping that people see that we're actually making the effort, right?
Yeah.
It
And I
takes a lot
think
of work
that
to set up any kind of website, even if it's just, a page with content on it, let alone setting up something that actually goes into Steam and validates that they have the version of the game and then says, oh, now you're included in this list. That's
yeah. I
next
I
layer stuff.
totally understand what you're saying. And I think though that what a lot of the people will really appreciate though is when this Kickstarter just really kickstarts your ability to really finish the game and have a finished product in their hands much faster than it would have been done otherwise, right? So so hopefully, that will help ease some of the tension there, I guess. And I guess how do you envision like the transition from early access to a full game? Are you looking at just like continuing adding like iterative releases until eventually one day it is the finished product, or are we looking at like a kind of a maintaining of like what we have so far, going into high gear behind the scenes, and then releasing a big update at once? Like what's that look like in your minds right now?
Our current goal is to get to the 75% content complete mark, which is at or near the end of Act 2.
Mhm.
And then after that point, other than doing some maintenance, bug fixes and stuff, we won't make any major updates to the game until it launches.
Okay.
The one thing is important for people to know, because this gets asked all the time, will I lose my saves and all that? The game itself, the version that you see in the demo and early access, that's the game that's going to get launched. I don't know how people manage multiple versions of games. I come from the software industry where you make one product you manage, and then you manage the the improvements by deploying over what's already there. You don't make 3 different versions of it. So the game will continue to work with people's saves. There's nothing special or unique about your demo saves versus your early access saves. So yeah, at some point we'll launch the game. It'll be ready to go. And with this Kickstarter, we'll be doing all versions of console. So that does add some fun complexities that we're working on mitigating.
Really?
But we might also be looking into things like, well, if we're going to do multiple consoles, what sort of way can we allow people to even share their saves across platform? I'm not committing to that yet because I really have not looked into the technical aspect of it. But my desire is always to seek those sort of solutions if I can.
Well, I think that the obvious solution, is a 75 character password that you have to.
Oh, like Golden Sun.
Yes.
You're going the Golden Sun route. Yeah.
Of course.
I never played the next version of Golden Sun. I was so mad after playing the first version I didn't get to finish the game. And they never released it. And it was like, you know what? I give up on this.
Legitimately, when I played Golden Sun 2, I streamed it. I live streamed it. And I didn't anticipate that that the password system was going to be quite as robust. So entering in my password from one to the other legitimately took like 3 hours of the stream.
Oh my gosh.
It was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
No thanks.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there will be some QR code thing you could do. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, we'll figure out. Whatever. We'll figure.
I'll help you figure this out later. I'll give you more uninformed
all I want
opinions.
to tell people is like we try to do these sort of things. We have a genuine interest in finding things that people will like and appreciate and enjoy. They don't always convert into profit for indie studios. That's why they don't always do it. But I like to solve these sort of problems. So if I'm presented with something that makes sense and I think I can fit it in, I'm going to find a way to do it.
I love that. That's so cool. So, and I guess that ties into this other question about like, how do you balance taking creative risks with practical commercial considerations of launching an indie RPG in today's market? Like, that's.
Well, I don't think if I were to tell you the hero's journey of us, I'd say don't do it the way we did it. Sorry, this is pragmatically speaking. If we were doing it the smart way, we wouldn't be doing what we were doing. We have 55,000 wish lists on Steam. We probably should have just hold up and not done an early access launch and just keep building it until we launched it, right? So, how do you balance it? I'd like to tell you the right way, but this is our first product, so I don't think anything we do will be the right way. Everything's the wrong way. The Kickstarter, we've been making changes the whole time. You don't do that with Kickstarters. That's a lot of work. That's not the right way to do it. So, I'd love to tell you a good answer to that. And all I can tell you is the way we've done it is a lot more work than I think any other studio would probably do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a common sentiment. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm only laughing because we've had other indie developers come in and we've had the interviews and we've asked similar questions, like sort of like, what are your lessons learned, and like what kind of advice would you give to other people who may be inspired to do something similar? And all of them, without fail, would say, just don't do what we did. Whatever we did, don't do that thing.
Oh, okay. So I'm consistent at least, right?
It's very consistent. All kinds of different lessons learned, though, which is fantastic. And
I think that the lesson learned I give anybody that does anything really, but you hear lots of speakers talk about this, is that if you want to do anything, you have to accept that you're not going to succeed the first time or the 10th time. You have to keep pushing at it, and you don't just assume because one failure it's a give up, right? If you're really passionate about it, you've got to keep finding ways to make things work, and things aren't going to always work. And that's really the problem, is you say, well, then why am I going to do this? You're right. If you don't hear that and say, well, then I want to try harder, then maybe this isn't the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you see it and say, wow, this is a challenge, and I'm driven, I like what I'm doing, and I'm seeing good responses, and I'll find ways to, make good on problems that we run into. And that sort of thing is where you see the developers that are able to launch a product and sometimes even succeed with it.
No, I,
You know?
I like that lean startup mentality. Absolutely.
Yeah, but not
Um,
lean like thin, lean like lean into it. See?
yeah,
Mm,
exactly,
mm.
exactly. And because we haven't heard Draz, maybe we'll ask Draz the same question too. Like, what are some of the lessons learned from your perspective?
Oh yeah, it's well, and this is kind of the way I think of it is how it goes back to how our perspective on just designing everything is iteration on iteration on iteration. We're constantly learning, right? This is not a one stop solution for us. We're not just releasing something and saying, "Hey, this is it." We're actually trying to actively improve ourselves over time. And for me, it's just learning new techniques, learning how to make my processes faster. Anything and everything that will help along the way, I'm willing to learn and really lean into that. So
Yeah.
I know that you didn't say this, Drass, but I think the other thing is you intuitively understood that to get a product out, you have to get people who are interested in it. And to do that, you've got to get things out there as soon as you can.
true.
He
Yeah,
did
I'm
that, right? He's
always
willing to just throw stuff out and he does all the visual stuff, does the marketing, and he's just naturally talented at that.
well. Thank you.
I love the agile thinking from you guys. I think you guys do tech jobs. I was like, I believe it. These guys are agile to the core.
Agile. You don't talk about that in game dev, do you? I don't know how that
I
works.
mean, agile game development. What even is that?
It's what we're doing. Once you get early access out, it becomes
Oh
agile
yeah.
immediately.
No, I appreciate it. I'd like to ask something about that line, but let's get back to Derek first, because I know you may have a couple more questions. I do
I-
want to hop back into because I'm interested in that.
Yeah. So I do have a few more lined up here. So I heard a little bird told me, am I allowed to say this on the air here? That Mottzy, you're going to be changing your employment situation a little bit here pretty soon, right? Is that,
Yeah, I
am I
mean,
hearing
it's
that?
the way that I would say this is nothing about my employment status has changed, and I haven't actually made any official notice. And I suppose if anyone who knows me in the real world is hearing this, just plug your ears. But the fact is that to get this game launched, it's going to need more of my time.
Yeah.
When we had the publisher, it was more of Drash Ray's time because he was doing a lot of the maps. We have 300 plus maps. He's done a ton of the work for all the visual stuff, but I
Mhm.
need to do the other pieces, right? I need to do the battle system and all these other technical components. I've got to write more story. I've got to tweak the story. There's a lot of things I need to do. So to achieve that, I am working out a plan with leadership of my day job so I can do more time on this project. I likely won't leave my company. So that's
Right.
one sort of safety net is I get paid well for my job. Why would I ever do indie dev? Because it just does not pay as well. But I love this so much. This is the thing that really makes me light up. So even
Yeah.
though I need some stability, so I have to do the day job, I'm going to be really spending a lot more time on the project, especially after the Kickstarter ends. That's the current plan. I don't have the solid time yet, so we'll make
Sure.
official announcements. Like Mottz. I'll probably even put my real name out there because I have to anyway. Um, just takes the lead of Drattzy Games or whatever. But whatever the case is, it is coming as news. So this is sort of the early hint that's what's going to happen, and my time will be much more focused on this project than it has been in the recent past.
Wow. That's exciting. So
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm terrified but excited.
yeah, those two way too often go hand in hand, I think. Uh, the really exciting stuff is also a little terrifying, right? Um,
True.
and one of these other things that's happened relatively recently. Well, I don't know how recent was this. Your Kickstarter has reached its funding level, right?
We reached our first. Thank you. Not only we reached our funding level, we reached our first stretch goal.
Hey.
Oh,
So we will
really?
be officially adding a small customizable house in the game that you can essentially have your own home.
Ooh,
Oh my gosh! Oh,
love
that's fun.
those.
Yeah.
Man, I still remember
Yeah,
the first RPG house I ever bought in Earthbound. I couldn't really customize it very much, but it had a view.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't play Earthbound, so I don't know what the view is. There's a view joke there, but
Oh, yeah, it's missing one of the walls, and it just overlooks a big
Oh.
ocean scape.
Yeah, the first house I ever owned in the game was actually Oblivion. That was like more modern style, but
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, my Oblivion house, like I installed so many mods to like connect all the houses too, and like, dude, there's this. You know what? We'll talk about Oblivion mods later on.
we'll find a different time later. But yes, we have hit our goal, and we've hit our stretch goal. I do want to say this. No one told me I had to say this, but BackerKit is the company that supports Kickstarter projects, and they do their own thing. They also have a marketing division, and they reached out to us saying, "Hey, we'd love to help, market your product before the end of your campaign." And they've been doing amazing things. I mean, since they've been helping us, the numbers have grown really quickly. That's why we've hit our first goal. So I just think that's really amazing. Anyone doing a Kickstarter should definitely look into options for connecting with BackerKit, because they're on it.
That's awesome to hear. The last developer we were interviewing also was doing some stuff with BackerKit, and they had nothing but good things to say about that as well. So
yeah, they got it, man. They know. I work in a marketing company for my day job, and I know lots about marketing, and what they're doing is the proper marketing for this type of industry. This is like I haven't seen it yet. I've been working in game dev for 5 years on the side. I have not seen proper marketing. This company knows what it's like to market.
Nice.
Awesome. That's a resounding endorsement. That's awesome.
There you go. They didn't tell me to say that, but
I mean, if they did though, would that be proper marketing?
Probably.
In this case, it's the proof is in the pudding, right? So
yeah. We're seeing real concrete results, and that's amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. Mr. Derek,
I was going to ask you if you've fielded any questions from the chat that have come in over time.
We have some questions. I do have some of my own as well. So
well, I mean,
I guess
it's your show.
Fire away. Oh no, it's Drass's show. Clearly, it's.
I thought it was. Yeah. Okay.
Drattzy's show, or Drass, the one who's not talking as much.
Next Sunday, it's not going to be me and Derek here. It's just going to be Mottz and Drass here.
just me, the disembodied voice.
I would watch that podcast. I would watch that podcast.
I would watch it. Okay, so a couple of things. I think one of the things, coming from the perspective of someone who's tried a game before, and so I didn't know that you were doing a Kickstarter until sometime maybe like 2 months ago or so, that you were thinking about doing it, or you were posting some things like, hey, it's coming. So I clicked in. I think this happened when I was in Asia. I was in Vietnam at the time, and I was just catching up on news. I clicked in. I see all the things, a bunch of things change since the time that I played the game. Like the arts change, like some of the key arts, the pixel arts change. I wasn't too surprised about the key arts. Like that happens sometimes, but the pixel art of the main characters, a lot of things have changed visually. Like, what were the catalysts, I guess, of going into make a whole bunch of changes, even though some of these things were already established? And I figured there's got to be like a really good reason to go in to make some of these changes.
Yes, there were reasons. First off, the iterative notion, you mentioned that, like the iterative development. We have been doing that since we started working on the game, as I said earlier. So the idea that we would be open to making changes when it makes sense has been permeated everything that we ever do. And when we recognize something is necessary, we start addressing it. And before we launched the early access, we knew the original key art we did, which was by, I'm not sure what we call the artist, Hana, or the person who does Crescent Sun. They're on Twitter. Their art's great. We like it. It really helped us solidify some of our vision, but we wanted to up the notch or a few bits before we launched the game. And we had some trouble with our publisher in getting some art before launch. And then we didn't really like the art we ended up with. And so at that time, we had said, well, let's see what else is out there. And that's where we found Mottzy, or Mottzy. I think it's Mottzy. And he's amazing. His art fit exactly the style. It's sort of like that Chrono Trigger-esque, because it's a digital print into paper that then is watercolored and then scanned and then put back in the computer. So it really is just an amazing, unique style. And mixed blending is sort of what we do, right? It's 3D, 2D, there's physical and digital. And so I really like that notion. And so when something makes sense and we know that it's a necessary upgrade, we do it. That's just our style. That's what we've always done. And so the pixel art update, we said, our characters are okay, but we'd really love them to stand out more. So we got artist named Wayne Kubiak, who has done a lot of different games. He worked on Cave Story, I believe, amongst other things. And so we had him help us with some of this art. We also had a person named Cup of Joe who did our first iteration of Pyra's changes, but he got too busy to be able to work with us. And so it's just like every single step of the way, when you see changes happen, is because either we originally always planned to change it and we just have placeholders, or we recognize over time that where it is now, whatever the thing is, it's been outdated by where we're trying to go. So we just recognize we have to bring it up a level. I mean, people don't love the UI, and I don't either. The UI is still considered placeholder. So when you say what's going to change, you're going to see that the whole UI itself is going to become much tighter, much more pixel-like, much better in terms of the flow. People are like, oh, the UI sucks. Like, yeah, well, you're right, because it's not our focus yet.
Yeah.
Right? So every step of the way, we're just slowly enhancing and improving. For you guys are going to recognize this. Back in the day when you had images loading on websites, they had this one where it starts really pixelated and then it slowly gets more and more definition. That's kind of what we're doing with the game, right?
Yeah.
It's just slowly getting more and more definition. Every pass, we make it look more refined and more refined as we go.
That's fantastic. And I think you've already answered some of the questions that I was going to ask too, which is like, what else, you would be coming in. Derek, you got something for us there?
I was just going to ask another self-serving question here about like, so I noticed that, I mean, you said that you're going to change some of the UI, and I'm like, are you going to keep the Quintet style font there, the Illusion of Gaia Terra Enigma Soul Blazer font that I love so very much? If not, I understand, but
Sure. The problem is we're using a true type font. And in a pixel game, that means you lose the pixel feel because it's trying to make it like high definition. And if you put that along pixelized backgrounds, it looks out of place.
Yeah.
And so
if it doesn't match up perfect, yeah.
Right. So we might try to make a bitmap version of it and see how that turns out, so we can get a pixelized look from it. We're not sure yet. We've just started talking to some interface designers and seeing if we can get some interesting ideas from that. So there's more to come. I'm not sure yet, but if we don't use exactly that font, we'll probably have something that's similar.
Okay. I may be heartbroken, but that's okay. I'll probably get over it.
For the greater good, Derek, for the greater good.
I'll take one for the team.
Baku, I wanted to say something really quick, just because you'll find it funny. We do actually do sprints for our development.
I figured.
We do month-long sprints. The only thing we don't do is actually deliver on everything that's defined every month.
Well, that's what buffer period's
been hard because everything going on, but we do actually have sprints that we close out the sprint every month, and then we move every ticket to the next one.
Yeah, that's what the buffer period is for. Yeah,
and we don't do retrospective either, because we're always doing that.
Yeah, it's just everyone complaining about Mottzy, of course.
I mean, I wouldn't be the first time.
Retrospective is just going, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
So I'm about to go into a bit of a nerd territory, but in a different sense. Because I'm in project management, and this is the kind of nerding for me. So it's always interesting to me. You're one of the few people that I feel like have like the technical and business appreciation for like an agile development process, but also game development. And that's the thing that's kind of hard to reconcile, I think, for a lot of companies, because when you're doing agile, what are some of the tenets where you have active communication with the stakeholders, right? Or the people who ultimately pays your bills. Very different from a software engineer, a typical software engineer perspective, with known owners, and they're kind of paying you like upfront, versus like building a product, right? So there's the product perspective, but not only that, this is like an artistic slash, it's not like a strictly functional piece of software, right? There's a lot of things that's in there that even if you were to communicate with your community and treat them like they're the stakeholders, it's just hard to get any kind of consensus on, what it is that they truly want or like and dislike.
Mhm.
Like, how have you been able to like reconcile this sort of like agile process and like continuous improvement, but like what are you even improving, right? Like it's a lot easier for, I think, like commercial software. Like it's either the thing works or the thing doesn't work. You can complain about the UI, but it's not going to be as big of a thing versus like, well, I just don't like this character, or the color's too harsh, or like, the screen doesn't like load well for me.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear some of the perspective from you as far as like how have you made agile work for game development?
y- oof. The-
I know it's
no, I know how to answer
I
your question, but I think the thing is that your question actually implies some things that I think are actually not totally correct about
okay.
what the problem is. The problem
Mhm,
space isn't doing agile or
mhm,
even how you get requirements. The problem space is the fact that you're taking an area of product where people care passionately about the thing you're providing.
mhm,
Where in the B2B business, even if you work directly with consumers, the reason they don't care so much if the font isn't perfect is because they're focused on the functionality less than
mhm.
the form, usually,
Yeah.
right? And so the form in a retro RPG is so important to your consumers that they will tell you how much they hate what you're doing if it doesn't fit what they're looking for. And you just, I mean, like in like B2B business, you just don't get
Mhm.
that very much, right? I mean,
Right.
unless it's super terrible product, and people still buy Salesforce. I mean, that's sort of business to
Oh,
business sell,
jeez.
but like, they don't care because they care about the function it's providing or the prestige you get from buying the product. And
Mhm,
that's just more business. So you accept more and you get less mad about it. And the user base is broader because you have little like microtransactions you can do that people are willing to pay $5 a month for something that you build up into recurring revenue. But
mhm,
the model for video games is way different. Unless you're doing a online product, you make the product, you sell the product. So you take 2 years making a product, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and then you launch the product, and that's it. Like you might
mhm.
support it, but once someone bought the product, they own it as a
Yeah.
premium product, right?
Mhm,
So Agile, the reason Agile doesn't technically fit is because Agile is meant for places where you're continuously improving on a product that you're making recurring revenue on.
Mm.
mhm,
So, like, how you collect all that stuff doesn't matter. I mean, I'll be real here. Like,
mhm.
the consumers are great. If you want to talk about stakeholders, man, try to make an RPG in a retro style. People will tell you exactly what you should be making, right? And
Right.
that's not the problem. It's not the problem at all.
I
It's
see.
more about team size, timing, being able to release the full product versus a portion of it. A B2B product or a B2C product, you can release part of the product, people will pay for it and be happy
Mhm.
with what you provided. We have an early access game out here where people have paid us for the product, but they're waiting for us to finish it, right? Like,
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
get it done now. Now you're on the hook to completely finish and have an end point. You
Yeah.
never get that in the consumer space. So that's
Right.
what I find really funny. Like what's fascinating to me is more about the business model and less about the production model.
Yeah.
Mhm,
I do think though that in games people could benefit from things like agile processes. Rapid delivery of pieces of code or product can help you learn really quickly what's going to work or not.
mhm,
Learning how to tailor it to customers is really easy in my opinion on video
mhm.
games because like I
That
said
is
they're very passionate,
interesting.
right? That's
I
not the
I
hard
I
part. This is not the hard part at all.
yeah, I always feel like the consumers are very much used to the waterfall because, and it's true, right? Like,
Mhm.
obviously you you tell me the release date, I buy the game, I play the game, I own the game. That's the date. That's when you're done. And when whatever I see, obviously there are day one patches, all kinds of things. But for the most part, I expect a polished, finished product that day,
Yep.
like literally
Exactly.
definition waterfall. I don't know how comfortable or how maybe comfortable is not the right word. How much they're used to seeing this kind of like continuous improvement thing. It's great because I work in that field, but I don't know how many people understand that. So I wanted to bring
Yeah.
that out and just really make sure people understand like why things are done that way. Like there's definitely reasons to this madness and not like, well, why don't you just build the thing and then just sell it to me and then it's all good and perfect.
Yeah.
That's not how things really should work, right?
Well,
So
but this is also
yeah.
a luxury product, right?
Yeah.
It's not a functional product that provides ongoing value. It is a product that provides entertainment. That is,
Mhm.
if you miss a piece of entertainment or you lose your interest, that's it. You've lost it.
Mhm.
There's plenty of other products out there that provide entertainment and instant gratification. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the
Mhm.
people who say, I'm done with your game. I never want to play it again. But you usually only get one shot. That's what they say, right? Once you've
Yeah.
sold it, once they've played it, if they're done, they may never come back to it. Because all it is your interest in entertainment as opposed to this is a product that provides some daily value to my life.
Mm.
And that's why Agile doesn't really work in this context because whether the consumer even understands Agile or not, they've got other things that they can occupy their minds with.
People
They
who
don't.
work in Agile doesn't understand Agile. So no, I just
Well, yeah, no one's ever really done good Agile, whatever that is, right? So
whatever that is. No, that is great insight and thank you so much for that. Like I just feel like every time we do an interview, right, there's always something special, different, or unique about the way they do things or their inspirations or I those are the kind of things I find really interesting. And I'm glad that you're talking about like, oh yeah, you're hitting up all the keywords like, oh, we're doing continuous improvement. It's like, huh, you're doing CI, excuse me. Your sprints, what?
we don't have the CD part of it yet, though.
Yeah,
CI/CD,
well.
continuous delivery. That's not quite there.
Day 30 patch.
Yeah,
It's just
well, day
every sprint, we're
160.
gonna new patches out. But how long do you suppose you will like continue to support like implementation? But this guy had to be some kind of end date to it. Like again, like sometimes they're like day one patches. Like, do you anticipate having to support this game for some time after release, or is that something that goes into like the model? Like, do you expect is that something that
Well,
people should expect?
I mean, even just from people I know who do games and have launched them. Like, if you guys know who
Mhm.
Wallaber is, he's done the Jellycar World game and various other ones. He's a very close friend of mine. We talk and nerd out about game stuff all the time. He supports his games when there's issues to resolve. I think that from my understanding, as long as the game is selling and making some kind of revenue to offset the cost of having to support it, then there should be support for it. And there could even be DLC or new content or new features. So there's no reason not to, other than, once you run out of money, you run out of money, right? You got to find a way to continue your business. And I think, by the way, that's what a lot of indie devs don't think about is you can't just make one product. You've got to always be thinking about your next one if you want to have a business, because you have to make money for your business to exist.
Mhm.
And there is an inherent conflict in this because consumers want what they want right
Mhm.
away. I spent
Mhm.
$20 on your game. I expect, top tier support. And I don't gainsay that perspective, but I can tell you as a small indie studio, if everybody is knocking at your door for a feature enhancement or improvement, you will never be able to make them all happy.
Yeah.
And so you have to, as a
Absolutely.
business, you always have to juggle being able to support the current users and also produce things that will make you more money. And supporting an existing product makes you no money
Yeah.
unless it's a game breaking bug that will prevent people from buying it. Fixing a bug doesn't make money for the company. All it does
Mhm.
is keep your current user base happy with you, right? Which
Yeah.
I'm not adverse to, but I'm just being practical about
Oh yeah.
how that structure works.
Makes a
No,
lot of sense to
absolutely.
be. I mean, that's good because you want your business to succeed and continue making games that people like to play. So I think it's for the benefit of everybody that that you have that sort of mentality.
Yeah. There's just a trade-off between like maybe sometimes there's a trade-off between business success versus like just being pro-consumer,
Yeah,
perhaps.
they call it
Uh,
opportunity cost, right? And this
mhm.
industry is very interesting from my learnings, which is, as far as I know, the going thinking is most indie dev studios, and I'm not thinking of anyone specific.
Sure.
I'm just saying the
Mhm.
prevailing thought is most indie dev studios won't care what their consumers think, right? a lot of them, you say, I have a complaint. Everyone comes in expecting the devs to say, well, go pound sand, right? They just don't care. Because everyone comes in hot. They're like, I'm so mad about this thing, and you're a stupid face, or they say other words. And then I say, you're right. That's a problem. I agree. Here's why. Here's what we're trying to do to resolve it. I completely understand if you hate my guts. However, this is what we're trying to do. And people get really surprised. Sadly, they get really surprised when you respond that way. It's a lot of work. Customer service is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it takes away time from doing development. That's called an opportunity cost. The opportunity of developing the game versus responding to people's complaints or concerns on a board or whatever. But our belief is that's paramount because they're the people who buy your product. And I cannot believe that the prevailing way that this industry works is that there's studios that just completely ignore people. They don't tell them what's going on. Everything is just hidden and opaque. And they're like, yeah, someday we'll release this product. I'm not looking at anybody specific, Team Cherry. But like they don't give the consumer, the players, the respect that I think they deserve because they're the people that buy your product. But yeah, people still buy their product. So I don't know. Maybe that's why they don't. Because well, they'll buy it anyway, whether we care or not. But we personally believe that that's important. And as much as it might cost our time, my belief is do it, make it really hard on ourselves, and then find a way to optimize it. Right?
Yeah.
Get better at what we're doing so that it doesn't take as much of our time. Get better at supporting our customers, make a better product from the start, learn what people like by listening to what they are complaining about, and then move forward with a better approach. And we're going to mess up all over the place, hence our Kickstarter, messing up all over the place, changing what's on the reward tiers and all that stuff. But we will be there to explain why and try to correct it moving forward.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Like customer service is absolutely, and I'm actually surprised too to hear, that is not really a thing that exists in like the indie space. I mean, I will probably play a little devil's advocate and say maybe a lot of these developers don't really have the kind of professional experience to know how to even deal with this. A lot of them sometimes I think they have like a passion project and they create it and it's like, oh, this is the thing that I want to put out. Like we've been very passionate about it. Customer service, business, like all these things are just not part of their skill set or part of their repertoire of things that they know how to handle. It's just, oh, I know how to program and make pretty art and I put a story in a game together and that's the extent of my contribution to our experience. All this other stuff that you're talking about, no idea, never met them. So
agreed, right? It's not easy. It's a lot. Right?
It's not easy. Yeah, it takes a whole, career, profession to like understand, not only understand the importance of it and know how to properly deal with these kind of situation. It takes a lot, and we're glad that you're bringing this up because as companies I think evolve and as this entire field progress, we're expecting to see more of these great things that we will come to expect. So you're sort of raising the bar, and I appreciate that. Speaking of things that you're still looking to put in, are there additional? Well, sorry. Speaking of new games, because you were talking about like, well, you got to think about the next thing. Like, what are some other things that would you be able to share with us if you have some other things that you're already thinking about?
Yeah, we can. We talked a little bit about this off and on with other people too. So, given that we only have one product, what we'll very likely do is take another game in a genre of a similar era and take our style and apply it to it. I mean, if Alterium Shift is way successful, then we might also set our sights for a sequel at some point. But we already have planned for that if it ever happens, but we're not holding our breath. But if we get to the level of success that we can make this our daily business, daily job, the next thing we're looking at are games in the ARPG genre. One of my favorites was the Zelda Link to the Past
Oh,
I think that's what it's called, right?
yeah.
I always forget these names now, but I just like the style and the feel of that game, and with the 2.5D view that we use, there's more interesting things we can do with that. So turning that into something that's more like an ARPG would be one idea that we have considered. We also have Flame of Hope, and we have other little things we've been knocking around. We could always take and turn into some small game, maybe not as big as Alterium Shift, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
But we like the style, the aesthetic that we have. I think we would expand on, and then we would set our sights for other things depending on how that goes.
Thank you. And one last question, and this is from Tyler from Something Classics. They want to know what your Tyler ratio is on your development team.
Yep.
They need to know the Tyler ratio. How many Tylers is in your team out of how many people?
0. We have no.
Oh no, it's a 0 Tyler game.
0 Tyler effect. Right?
0 Tylers.
It's like 0 sum, but 0 Tyler.
Wow. That's awkward.
That's awkward.
Sorry, Tyler. We know the Something Classic people, so we get along with them.
Well, maybe for the next iteration, I suggest bringing a Tyler on board. I've heard, I don't know, there's no scientific proof on this, but I've heard that the more Tylers you have on a game, the better the game will turn out. So we would highly recommend adding more Tylers to.
I don't have any
legally
Tyler
change my
resumes
name
on my plate. But if
that would
Tyler's
fill
trying
it.
to get a job, I mean, hopefully everything's going okay over there at Something Classic.
Oh no! Oh, I mean, it could be any Tyler in the world. Like as long as they're Tyler, it'll be fine. It doesn't have
if
to
you
be
get Steven Tyler on board. I mean, that'd be weird, but okay, it'd work. So.
First or last name, by the way.
Yeah. Liv Tyler. Let's go.
I'm down.
So,
Mr. Derek, final question.
Sure. Yeah, I know that we've already kept you well past we initially planned for an hour, but my final question for you here is is there anything that this entire time you've been thinking to yourself like, oh man, I really wish I got a chance to talk about this thing, and they never asked the right question? This is my question is, what should I have asked you that I haven't asked you about already?
I find it funny because I was going to suggest that you ask about future projects, and then you decided to ask that. So you're forcing my hand here and
Way to go,
me come up with something else on the fly. So one thing that I think would be a good question that I would want to know, and I touched on it a little bit about how I perceive indie studios, but I think even just how we perceive the indie studio space and how we perceive ourselves versus other studios, and what like, are we opposed to these people? Are they our enemies or mortal enemies that we're trying to be better? Like what sort of philosophy do we follow with just the space in general? Something Classic is a great example, right? Tyler and
arch rivals, arch nemesis. Yep.
Yes. The reason we don't have any Tylers is because of that Tyler.
Oh no, that one Tyler.
You've heard me, Tyler. It's on now. That would be a question I might ask. I will say that I just kind of pulled that one out and threw it to see what happens. But I'm happy to answer that question, though.
Please do.
Okay, so here it goes. I've seen YouTubers talk about this. There are people in any industry that perceive a zero-sum game, which means there can be only one, right? The Highlander theory. You got to go chop everyone's heads off so you get all the power. A lot of games, like AAA studios, have acted like that for ages. Nintendo and so on. There's a lot of competition and not a lot of cooperation. In the indie space, I think it's the reverse. I think there needs to be a lot of cooperation and friendly competition, but there's no reason to compete against each other. And so if people are getting into this space, you should recall, or you should remember, that there are other people out there that want to work together, even if you're not working on the same project. We have a small group, big growing group actually, of RPG developers. I'm fairly certain Something Classic is in the group. I'm not sure exactly which mix of people are in that group, but it's like select people from those various products, and it's great just having people to talk to in a similar genre, following a cooperative thought process. just because there's a game out there we don't love doesn't mean we can't talk to those people.
Sure.
Not that we are. I've hinted at a game that I'm not going to talk to the people who own that game, because they're also more like an A-side studio now. But at the same time, we would never take a perspective that we're against anybody else out there, because the fact is, I don't think the consumers want that. The consumers benefit if we work together, not if we work against each other, because typically that means you get, combined product ideas, or you get, something in a similar genre that touches on things that wasn't in one but's in another, and you can buy both games. And I just love that notion, because I've always thought of this whole, it's secretive. I work in B2B businesses. Don't tell anybody what you're working on. And I don't think that's how it is.
No.
I think indie dev and working with your consumers, absolutely. You need to work directly with your consumers, but also working with your perceived competitors. Someone could be making exactly the same type of game, but if we're collaborating and talking about our ideas and sharing those people's games, that's only better for everybody.
So what I'm getting from this is that you and Tyler are working on dual crossover DLCs for your projects.
Yeah. Yep.
And
we're not going to use the quintet font. We're going to use the quartet font.
Oh.
Every time someone says the quintet, I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about quartet? And I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's different. They both start with Q's.
I'm just saying, if I don't get to play as Atlas in quartet, then
well, Tyler and I have a feud
quartet
now, so I'm not sure if that's going to work.
You're gonna have to be some
Tyler.
kind of. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. And Drass, do you have any questions in your mind that you feel like we should have definitely asked? How dare these two buffoon not ask me this question?
No, I'm a little more relaxed than Mottzy.
or maybe how
just
about if there are things that you're excited that you want to share that we may not have been able to touch on about the game? Anything at all?
No pressure.
Just our latest update, but we already kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Drass has not also been feeling well, so you make him think on the fly when he's not feeling well. It's not going to go well. But
yeah, I hope you feel better, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will answer that question for him, though. The things that we're getting really excited about with the 75% release.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for the new battle system. That is, I mentioned it earlier, but that is going to be, I hope, answering the fundamental question, what this is really going to be about. And
I am so excited to play this game again. And I'm not just saying that because we're interviewing you. Like, I've said it like on my personal
Several
stream
times.
away from all of you. Like, you wouldn't have heard what I said, but I said it. You can ask the people who were there. Like, I've seen the changes and I can't wait to like really get my hands on it and experience that world. I mean, it's great seeing the video, and of course it gets me excited, but I want to play the game. Like, I'm also just waiting for that. And for anyone who's curious, like why I'm like just constantly pulling Drass, we were talking earlier, and this is like last week. Mottzy had specifically said, "Hey, I want Drass to speak more." So I'm like making sure that we give him some opportunity to chime in. But he is in fact not really feeling well today, and we really appreciate you showing up, even though you're not feeling your best. So thank you so much again.
Yeah, I honestly didn't want to miss it. I like talking to you guys. So thanks for having me.
Hey,
thank you so much for being here. Everybody listening at home, make sure you run your antivirus. Just make sure your computer doesn't get sick.
Yeah, it's contagious. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here. And maybe post launch, maybe post like version 1. Maybe we'll do this again. See how things are different. So thanks again for coming on, guys. Have a great rest of your night. And
thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Ooh, oh boy, that was quite the.
I know, quite the interview. That was a lot of fun. We went way longer than I thought it would, but man, I am so happy because that was such a good interview, guys. I cannot wait to play that game. I have to wait, but I can't.
It's hard to hype responsibly sometimes. Like, we say it all the time, but it's hard, man.
If only there was some sort of T-shirt that one could wear that would remind me. And
you know what you need to do?
If only it was able to be bought from shop.superderekRPGs.com with free shipping on using promo code TURBO. Just throwing that out there.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
I mean, that might be a thing.
We should put that in the description. That's what we should do.
Oh, maybe I will. That would be all right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what you need to do, Derek, is you need that same shirt, hype responsibly, but in reverse, so that when people look in the mirror, they can see hype responsibly on the mirror.
You know, I was thinking what would be even cooler is if it flipped it around backwards and it was the different and it said irresponsible hype or something like that. I think that would be, you know, I have received some requests for like the Nega version of that shirt that just says hype irresponsibly.
I'd say do it, man.
I'm kind of interested in what that would look like, but hey,
bold fonts.
Or maybe just irresponsibly hyped would be another. That's a lot of words for well, anyways, you know what we should do? We should probably talk about some of the upcoming games for this week, because holy cow.
Let's talk about hype. Shall we talk about hype?
Let's talk a little bit about hype.
Yeah. So some games is coming soon, some games has already come out. We're going to talk about one because of all the hype that's surrounding it. This title needs no introduction. It is Capcom's latest Monster Hunter game that is out, and it's already hitting, get this, all-time peak of 1.38 million concurrent players.
What?
On Steam alone. Just Steam. And that's number, I think that's number 6 or number 5 on their all-time highest concurrent already.
Wow. That's wild.
If Capcom's not doing something right and you haven't bought their stocks yet, I don't know what you're doing.
Oh man, you know what's ridiculous? I actually looked a little bit into this game. Did you already say the title of the game?
Yeah, Monster Hunter Wild.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, I didn't say the title. Sorry, I just said the newest Monster Hunter. Yes, it's Monster Hunter Wild.
I know that last time we were talking a little bit about how I wish I could be excited about a Monster Hunter game. Mm-hmm. I actually kind of watched more of a newer trailer for it the other day when I was making my JRPG Weekly update. I'm like, oh man, this actually looks like it's doing exactly what I asked it to do. And now
someone said that in the comments too. They're like, what? He wanted more connective tissues? He must have not seen like the new improvements that they added in there. Well, clearly you have just now. Right?
Yeah. So I feel like I should at least mention that before we watch this trailer. Let's check it out.
Let's do it.
Because I'm trying to hype kind of responsibly still. But, you know, there's only so much we can do. By the way, I think this trailer is 4 minutes long. You good with that?
Oh, boy. Okay, so I've said many times on stream that MMOs and games like Monster Hunter, I can't play because I have this thing where once I start a game like this, I would just like not put it down. And then I just like to just ignore responsibilities and I would just keep playing. I might have to break that because one of my friends from like a long time ago, he might be getting into this, and I've been trying to get him to like hang out and do stuff, and that might be my excuse to actually play this one. It depends. Because he has to buy a PlayStation 5 if he wants to join it, because he doesn't have a gaming PC. So PS5 is basically the easiest way for him to do it. He did say that he would yesterday. He doesn't watch this podcast, but if he ever finds me on YouTube, and if you're listening to this right now, I'm waiting for you to get that PS5 so that we can play this. I might just, like, if he follows through and he actually goes and get a PS5 and the game, I'd have no choice. I'd have to honor, the agreement that I would hop in. But if he doesn't, then he doesn't.
A fact. Right? That is, yeah. So there's, I'll give it, since I have no external knowledge, I'll give it a 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50?
Yeah. I don't know.
Look at this, man. I can see why almost 1.4 million people concurrently played the game on Steam alone.
That's nuts.
Just Steam. not including Xbox, not including PlayStation, just Steam.
And I could be wrong, but I get the feeling that this historically like PlayStation oriented release, I mean, it started coming out on like PS2, these Monster Hunter games. It eventually also came to Wii and Xbox and stuff, but like I have to suspect that the majority of players are probably on console. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
You know, I don't know what the ratio is. I mean, I'd have to hopefully find some PlayStation numbers that we can compare, but I just feel like Capcom has really built this series from like a fairly niche like PSP, PlayStation 2 sort of ordeal to this like behemoth of a experience.
I remember playing Monster Hunter Freedom on PSP, man, and it was pretty wild, but it was not like this, and oh man, wow, did we watch that whole trailer already? Dang,
we did.
Okay,
yeah, they're doing something right, man. Capcom's doing something right, and I think what they're doing, part of that at least, is that they do a lot of real and not like just for the motion, real outreach to gamers and their fans, and like really get their opinion. Like, okay, we had this thing, how did you feel? What are some things you want to see? What are some other IPs you want to see? And they send out those surveys. We've talked about those surveys before, but that's not like the only thing that they do. Like, that's one of the things that they do, but there are many different kinds of outreach that they reach out to international fans and really get their opinions and really try to incorporate it. So I've always find this kind of aspect very interesting in how they process all these information, because obviously you can't please everyone, right?
Yeah.
So and there's like Mottzy said, there's opportunity costs. Like, I can only do one thing, right? I can't do both. I can do one. How do you choose which one?
Yeah.
So some of these things is very fascinating, but they're doing it right. We've said it many times in the show, like they have so many successful IPs that they have continued success since like even like Super Nintendo, PlayStation days. So clearly they're doing something right.
Who else is doing something right? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the game came out on the 28th. You can play this game on PS5. I wrote the Switch, but what I meant to say was Xbox Series and PC via Steam. Crossplay is enabled by default between platforms. So if you're wondering, well, can I play with my friend on Steam and I have a PS5? Crossplay is enabled, but you can turn it off. You can, but it's enabled by default. So that means you can play on any platform. You don't have to worry about it. If your boy is playing on Steam and you're playing on Xbox, you can totally do that.
Nice. Yeah. So who else has been doing pretty good these last few weeks? Or maybe not just weeks about? Even. I'm talking about, and I find it really hard to say this, but like
it just doesn't roll out as easily.
It really doesn't. It's Konami has actually been doing okay. I mean, let's just say it's tentative. I don't know. So I will say though that one of the most hyped games right now that's coming out real soon is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate, Rune, and Dunan Unification Wars. I mean, the HD Remaster version of 1 and 2 is just around the corner. The remake's going to have some updated graphics. I mean, mostly the same graphics, but some updated visuals, some new character portraits by Junko Kawano, the original character designer, which is awesome. So it's done in tandem with the original staff. And then, it's also updating Suikoden 1 to match the style of Suikoden 2.
I think that's big. I love that. It's a personal pet peeve, like when you have like two games and they're fairly similar,
close enough,
style,
just
but
not
just different enough. I'm like, I wish the older one looked like the newer one, so that they're fairly consistent, like visually. And now we're getting that. So awesome.
New version's going to include fast forward, during battles, auto saves,
Love it.
and some other cool stuff too. You want to take a look at the trailer together for this
Let's
one?
do it.
All right, this is wild because I know. Do you remember? You know how many times we have talked about this since it was announced?
So many people
The skepticism,
constantly asking about this game.
the skepticism that I had at the forefront of this. I'll own up to it. This is a different Konami. It's slowly being proven to me, slowly, that they are not the same company that they once were.
With the NFTs and the Castlevania NFTs. Oh my god, remember that? Yeah, not that one, not the pinball Konami, right?
Yeah, it's I've heard that all of their staff also recently got a pretty good bonus, pretty big raise.
Bonus for doing a good job? No way.
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know.
Insane.
Insane. They're doing a new remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, and that looks cool as heck.
Yeah,
they're really actually releasing this, and they didn't release it in time to undercut Eiyuden Chronicles.
Yeah,
which is one of my criticisms when that release date was announced the same week as the other. It's like, oh, come on, bad luck. But I think they might have. I mean,
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I don't think they would have necessarily won. It would have just been it would have hurt them too. I feel like if they had actually gone through with it. Yeah. Because Aiden turned out to be incredible.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is coming out on the 6th. So just a few days from today. I'm hyped, and I know a lot of people are hyped as well. Let's all just be hyped, and let's be happy that for the first time in ages, Suikoden 2 will cost less than $50, because it's been such a expensive title up to this point. $200-$300 for a copy of Suikoden 2. How about half the cost of this bundle? That's pretty sick.
My only hope is that they will eventually come out with a physical edition so I can own it forever.
Has that not yet been announced?
I looked before the show, and it looks like, from their website anyways, it looks like everything is digital only. I haven't checked Yes Asia, because the website is for the Western release.
Maybe I'll keep an eye on Play Asia, because I feel like sometimes that might be a thing. We'll see.
Sometimes it is.
We'll let you know.
Edition for Japan and the the Southeast Asia market only. But fingers crossed that we have a physical release. I haven't seen it, but maybe. Yeah.
So moving along, we have some new games that were also announced. I told you it's coming out this week on the 6th, just a few days from now.
Oh, you did? Oh,
I did.
I missed
Weren't you
it.
listening?
That's my fault.
You silly goose.
Well, I know. It's just we had such a great interview just now. I'm going to blame that.
You're still thinking about them, but you're with me.
I really
understand.
It's just... Yeah, no, I mean, did you see Mottzy? How do you not keep thinking about that man?
So agile.
I know. So quick.
I for a minute there, I was afraid you guys were going to start talking about story points and stuff, and I was like,
oh no, I didn't want to. I didn't want to ask him to.
You don't ask somebody that on the first day. You say
Bonacci sequins, so you're gonna wear some t-shirts for us. T-shirt sizes.
So let's move along to new game announcements, eh?
Yes, let's move along to new game announcements. I agree. You know what? This is an interesting one. It's not going to be something that everyone might find interesting, but I hope you guys do.
They should.
Yeah, this is from Idea Factory that was announced that they'll be bringing the long-running dungeon crawler RPG series MADO MONOGATARI to the West for the very first time with their newest title, MADO MONOGATARI Fear and Wondrous Academy. Let's take a look at the trailers so we can have some idea on what this is about. Oh, they do have physical. Nice. I didn't find it, but since they have physical, I'm gonna have to go pre-order that. Thank you for letting me know.
So a lot of people don't know much about MADO MONOGATARI, but
Yeah, so this series actually came from Compile before they were Compile Hard from 1989. I didn't know that. I thought I knew this series from like maybe the 2000s on like a DS or something. But this game has this series has been running since 1989, and that was like the factoid that I found. But it was also one of those games that like never made it to the West. So this is basically going to be like the introduction for a lot of people. And it's the Dungeon Crawler series. And
I hear it's actually the original is pretty brutal and actually has some gory stuff in it. It's pretty sick. Yeah. So, you know, it's pretty hardcore. So from the screenshots I've seen of this game, like I think that the game it's already out in Japan, right? Like, and it's just being localized now. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
So it looks like it may not actually be a first-person dungeon crawler in this remake. And I think I kind of prefer that. But what'd you say about that?
Like, these are
the Puyo.
These are the Puyo Puyos. Yeah, they are.
I was gonna say
Tetris game.
Yes, I was gonna say that's actually this is the progenitor of Puyo.
Yes,
which is also just a whole other like what really?
Yeah. Seriously, it's like where do all these characters from Puyo come from? Oh, this game series. Okay.
Which is weird, but okay.
It's weird that the spin-off got the Western treatment than like the main game, right? Yeah, I know.
And it got localized as Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Man. So this game is coming out sometime in 2025 for PlayStation 4 and 4 and 5 and the Switch. And I would really like to see hopefully in the next trailer I want to see more
actual gameplay.
Actual gameplay for the folks. That is coming out and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Well, Idea Factory also announced that they will in fact be bringing the new Compile Heart third-person shooter called Scarlead Salvation to the West as well. So we have a trailer for that too. So I'll go ahead and pull that up.
Let's go. Yeah, we looked at this at some point, but it wasn't announced that it would be coming to the West.
I think you mentioned that. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think you announced, or we talked about that, and you're like, I think it's gonna come out in the West. So that's why we talked about it.
That's what I want to know.
With the English voice acting.
We should be careful.
That is really nice.
Yeah. I think certain publishers have things that they do pretty well. And
perhaps this is a good opportunity.
I've never had issues with like Idea Factory doing voice acting.
You're an AI, but you're using such complicated expressions.
The contacted bioweapon is as powerful as expected.
Mocking me again. I'm going to get out of here. I swear it.
The outcomes of war aren't quite that simple.
Wait, you didn't think to tell me?
Futuristic waifus.
Yep. Well, that looks pretty cool. I mean, it looks like a third-person shooter. Not really my thing, but maybe it's got some RPG elements and stuff. But hey, we'll see, I guess.
Usually games from like Idea Factory, they tend to like to add RPG elements in, like even if it's a third-person shooter.
Yeah, I prefer it that
plays more like in practice like a third-person action game with but instead of being
with
able
shooter
to
mechanics. Yeah.
So you just have shooter mechanics instead.
So this one's coming out on May 29 for PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and PC via Steam.
All right. This next one.
What did you do?
You know what? Let's just look at the trailer.
All right,
let's just look at the trailer.
This seems.
I don't even want to just look at it.
What am I?
If this does not have Saturday morning anime energy, So this is a side-scrolling platformer called KinnikuNeko Super Muscle Cat. Because, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you have the Super Muscle Cat. And that's what you were playing as.
Don't forget your
love
underpants.
I love the like 90s like anime sort of like and that ridiculous like concept. I love this so much.
This is absolutely nuts.
I love this so much, and I would play the heck out of this. So yeah, this is coming from developer Kamotachi. And again, this is a side-scrolling platformer. The game actually already is available on PC via Steam. But on March 19th, this game will also be available on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and the Switch. So basically all modern platform. And if you already own the game on Steam, on the 19th, you will see a major update, including full voiceover in English and Spanish in the Espanol. So, if you're looking for, you know, some people just really want games to be like dubbed in English. Well, you got it. You just need to wait until the 19th.
All right.
And all the updates will be on all the platforms. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna jump on this. I have to jump on this.
All right. Well, next up, CyberConnect 2. You might know them for their work on the Dot Hack series, or, well, you might have remembered that they were gonna work on, Final Fantasy VII remake, but ended up not, or something. I'm not sure what happened there. But anyways, what they have been working on, though, lately are a new set of games called the Fuga Melodies of Steel series. And, well, hey, CyberConnect 2 is currently celebrating their 30th anniversary, and they're hitting us with this new announcement. Melodies of Steel 3 is coming, and you don't have to wait a long time at all. The new game will be continuing to follow the children of the Tyrannus, who will be sent on a journey this time to find Mottz, the longtime series protagonist who vanished without a trace.
Yeah.
So we got a trailer for it as well, and
oh boy, this was like the most exciting trailer that I saw last week. I was like, what? You gotta come on, a new Fuga?
You know, that's the thing. I still haven't played a Fuga. It's, I don't know. Hasn't,
you know, for someone who has never played a Fuga game, I mean, I've seen playthroughs, but for someone who has personally never played Fuga, I am oddly excited for the sequel. Because I enjoy the idea of the game. I just never have the chance to play it. But I've always loved the idea. Making difficult choices, sacrifices, and just like children standing up against the odds. Everything appeals to my like sensibility.
That does seem like kind of your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I sacrificed one of my characters. Oh, that's so sad. Can I see how badly their body was maimed, or do you have to get the worst ending for that?
No, not just seeing the body maim, but I want to hear the voice acting as they struggle to try to stay alive, but ultimately
that's very important.
You know they're going to die, but I want to hear them draw their last breath.
That's sick and twisted, and you may need therapy, but I won't judge you
just
for
like
it.
Corpse Party, that's all.
I mean, I get it. I like it too, but you know, I'm just saying there are limits.
No, but this game has very touching stories, and I just like what they're doing. Like, and if the second game is anything to go by, like even though they keep, I don't know how they're doing it, they keep the core mechanics for the most part. It won't feel out of place. But at the same time, they can do something drastically different that you don't feel like I'm just playing an extension of the first game. You know, and that balance of keeping what is the same and adding things that's fresh but not too much, they have been pretty successful between the first and second game, and I really want to see what they would do with this third one. Obviously, the art's beautiful. The story's been just universally praised. I see nothing can go wrong with this one.
I would kind of like to see what the gameplay looks like, but that's
Probably similar. I think we saw a little bit of it, but I think it's basically similar. You're still piloting.
still piloting a tank.
Yeah, the tank, and you know, you probably go through, fight some battles, have some kind of like things in the middle, go through some story, and continue the story how I betrayed the world.
Enter the battlefield of Fuga.
Oof, man. And we have a lot of viewers who are big fans of Fuga.
Oh yeah,
Really,
I know.
yeah,
I do remember.
You guys,
Okay.
Fuga's here.
And well, it's not here yet, but it will be on May 29, and it's coming to
That is so soon. That's crazy. It's like up last
coming
week
to
they announced it.
all modern platforms.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Really? It's the end of May. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. I might treat myself. That's my graduation present. Like,
Yeah, same
treat
idea as
myself
Idea
to Fuga.
Factory's shooter, Scar Lead Salvation, May 29. Big day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big day.
It's also Amy's
up next-
birthday, so you know
Wait,
what
whose
I'm getting
birthday?
her. Yeah,
Amy?
Amy.
Oh,
Yeah, it's her
nice.
birthday, so I guess she's getting a couple of video games for
All right. What a lucky gal.
Yeah.
I'm
so thoughtful.
All right. I want people to buy me games for my birthday. Guys, people who watch it. Anyways, up next we have a game that we kind of touched on last year. We talked briefly about it, but there weren't a whole lot of information back then.
Mhm.
But now developer Seven Quark had just given us a new trailer and a lot more information on this really gorgeous looking game that I'm excited to share, and it's called Yasha: Legends of the Demon Blade.
You wanna check out the trailer?
Yes, Mr. Derek. Oh, just take a look at this thing real quick. I mean, of course, you have the waifu. Yes,
Of course, that's
that is,
okay.
Of course, but look at this. I love the hand drawn, like top down.
Yeah, I do.
And it's got that. I don't know. It's got like a. I don't know how to explain it, but like. It's got that sort of like a little bit of that brush, like water paint.
Yeah, the sume kind of Japanese ink
Yeah.
painting. Yeah,
It's not too much, but it's just
subtle.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
to be there to set the tone.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like the watercolor backgrounds. I like the waves. They almost look like a top-down version of the finger waves, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely got that painterly aesthetic that I really like.
Yeah, and the and the game obviously it looks like it plays really well. So yeah, so definitely a lot more information than before. Because before they kind of just showed like the character art a little bit, and then that was kind of it. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll keep an eye on it. Well, now they've got a lot more that they're showing this time, and I'm gonna try to hype responsibly.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, if this game plays well, like, and the story is there, like, that's it, man. This could be it. This could be the next thing. I've just been enjoying a lot like shorter experience nowadays, and
Well, yeah.
this is gonna be one of those like shorter experience.
Unless you suck at it.
Yeah, well, hopefully not get me worse like tendonitis because this is an action game.
Yeah, can't play anymore because you have tendonitis or something, you know, and just hands are just bound up.
So, this game is coming out on April 24th on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Just no Xbox One. I don't know why.
It doesn't have enough power, that's why.
Yeah, that's probably it.
All right. So, next up, the Life is Strange developer, don't nod. They've just announced a new little title called The Lonesome Guild, and it's going to be an action RPG. The game follows Ghost, a spirit with no memories, who, upon awakening, discovers that loneliness has spread across the land, corrupting everything in its path. So, Yeah, Loneliness Brigade. Yeah, or I'm sorry, Lonesome Brigade. I need to. I don't know why I keep doing that,
Lonesome
but hey,
Guild.
let's check it out. Here, yeah. Oh, it's
Um,
not brigade. It's a guild. What? Did I say? How many times
yeah.
did I say brigade?
I don't know.
What is going on in my head?
You're still thinking about Alterium
Yeah,
Shift, of course.
yeah, Mottzy. Yeah,
Yeah, Mottzy.
still. All right, let's check it out.
Yeah, so boy, I did not expect Dunan, the people who made Life is Strange, to make an action RPG of all things. Like,
Was not in my, not on
yeah,
my
that's
bingo
not my
card.
bingo card. Yep. It looks really nice too.
It looks adorable.
Yeah.
So it's called the Lonesome Guild, not the Lonely Brigade. I don't.
Or is there alternative title?
Yeah, the
Yeah, you
Lonesome
solve some
Guild.
puzzles. You assemble a team. It's gonna be like a team of 6 playable characters.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm just making up words today. That looks kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have doubts for people who made Life is Strange. So it's a very credible studio. I just didn't expect.
It's just a
them
very
to
different
do-
style of game. Like,
Yeah, and doing really good. Because this looks incredible.
maybe after those games, they just needed some sort of palate cleanser.
Oh, jeez. Even game developers need palette cleanser for stuff they make.
I imagine that. I imagine so. I mean, you work with something enough, it starts to seep into your bones, right? So
Yeah. So those are 6 characters in the back behind the ghost that are playable characters.
yeah, and it's coming out in fall of this year for PlayStation 5, this Xbox Series, and PC via Steam.
All right. Are you ready for one of the biggest news in RPG?
You know what?
JRPG?
Yeah, I am, because I'm actually I already saw it. I kind of dig it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah.
All right. So Pokemon Presents happened on the 27th of February, and it gave us some insight into the new installment of the Pokemon series called Pokemon Legends ZA. It is a spin-off title that was announced early last year, and I think early last year it only gave us the logo. They didn't really show anything. This is the
Nothing.
first time we're really seeing what kind of game this is. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what Pokemon Legends ZA is all about.
Yeah. Last time they showed off this, they showed off so little about it, I forgot
Yeah.
that it existed. So when this trailer dropped, I'm like, they're making a new Legends game, and it actually, well, I would say it looks hype, but let's be real, it looks like a Switch game, but like a Switch game made by Game Freak specifically. But
I'm
all of those
waiting for,
qualifiers
Switch 2
aside,
version.
all of those
Mhm.
qualifiers aside, I think that the gameplay mechanics that they show off here, it looks like a good iterative step forward.
From
The
Legends.
starters, who you going with? Totodile? Me too.
That's you know what's tough about this? I don't like any of the 3 starters.
I get that. So the reason that Totodile is the one that I am kind of curious about playing again myself is because that was my starter in, was it Gold? I want to say it was Pokemon Gold when I played it on, back in the day. So it might be a nice little nostalgic choice. But yeah, I gotta say, it does.
Oh, not Chikorita.
I mean,
Yeah, Chikorita.
I also do feel like Gen 2 had the weakest starters, but otherwise, some really good other Pokemon were introduced during that point in the game.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with water
Mhm.
this time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a big fan of Turpic. Not a big fan
It's
of
just a pig.
Chikorita.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
Totodile is the it's the correct choice.
Yes, crunch. I like crunch.
Oh yeah.
Crunch
And
is
it
great.
turns into
Dark side.
Feraligatr, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
I mean, and that kind of looks like a dragon of sorts.
Yeah.
Not quite like
Another prehistoric animal, right?
yeah. Prehistoric lizard that, has strong strong bites and stuff. Yeah. That's kind of up my alley. But I did not one of the things I didn't like about Feraligatr though is how ugly it was on gold. Like especially like when it was like in your front and it's in from the
Just a blurb.
yeah, it's just like, oh, I can't even tell what this Pokemon is. But yeah, that's cool.
What are you?
Now I think I'll have more to enjoy with.
Yeah. They're bringing back Mega Evolution. So Mega
Yeah.
Evolution was gone
Yep.
in Scarlet Violet.
Yep.
They're bringing it back.
Yep.
No Gigantamax. They're bringing back Mega.
Yeah, I feel like Gigantamax was jumping the shark a little. They're
Yeah.
reeling it back in. Oh, they didn't even show off part of the mechanics that I care about.
What, the dodging and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, they
Or-
did earlier.
Oh, I was distracted.
Missed it.
So yeah, one of the things that they are doing that they are improving upon previous release, and I don't know what this whole splash teaser thing is. I have to assume it has to do with
Yeah.
Pokemon Go, maybe. I don't know. But one of the things about that's really nice is being able to run, and not just like, I know that in Arceus, the player could get splash damage with AoE stuff, and you could move out of the way, but
Mhm.
but the Pokemon would just auto hit each other, and like they wouldn't dodge. But now your Mon will run alongside you, and you can lead them out of dangerous areas of effect, and that's pretty cool. So, that brings us one step closer
I think
to
they
the.
do dodge, just that it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a chance dodge, not
Yeah,
a skill dodge.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us a little closer, that much closer to the anime style battles that I envisioned from my youth.
Oh, that you know what? You're right. It is cool. I didn't think about it like that. It's like, that is the Pokemon style, like the
Yeah.
anime style of battle.
That's what I've always wanted. Give me the anime style Pokemon battle, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, the thing
So-
I'm not a big fan about in this game is like mostly the visuals, because like
Oh yeah,
Arceus is just so stunning. It was like a striking game. It's very stylistic to me. I mean, not like the character,
not like
and
graphically.
stuff.
Like-
Yeah, graphically speaking. I mean, look, the Pokemon. I mean, what is it? Game Freak can only do so much.
They are on their own scale. I know.
It's Game Freak. It's I'm not expecting anything crazy, but for what it
Somebody-
is, if you compare all the Pokemon, like Arceus is just so
It's
stylistic.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was hoping that they would continue down that path of having like Legends game be like, well, not only experimental but be very
Also just a little prettier,
very
yeah.
bold style, very pretty. And
Yeah.
what we see so far, it just kind of looks like Legends, a slightly different
Legends
gameplay.
in a big town.
Yeah, but also like still very like Scarlet, like.
Well, here's
Violet,
the other thing.
like feels.
Other thing about that is we're also looking at the Switch version of the game, and you know that there's going to be a Switch 2 version of the game, right?
Right.
At least I think that's the copium that we're all sharing right now, is that like, yeah, it might look like butt,
Mhm.
but maybe it'll look like a shinier butt on Switch 2. And that and that might be different.
it could be.
And Pokemon fans like shiny. I know they grind for shinies. So
Man, I just feel like they need to work on the aesthetics just a little bit. Like, because right now, nothing about that game really stands out to me, aesthetically speaking. It's all just like, oh, it's a town.
the setting does
Arceus.
look kind of neat. Like it's based on Paris-ish, and some of the less like touristy aspects of Paris. I think, and I think it looks pretty good. Like from like a inspirational perspective, but not on an implementation perspective.
Yeah. Yes. we'll see what they do.
Could you
I mean,
imagine a crossover, like a Pokemon Legends made in tandem with Monolith Soft?
oh jeez.
Like that's what we should be getting here. Like let's be real, this is the highest grossing franchise in the world. There's no reason that we're seeing this.
Pokemon, but Xenoblade.
Yeah. That would be so
Very
good.
Traumatic stories, please. I want traumatic Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Oh wait, that's Digimon. So this game is coming out late 2025 and only on the Switch and the Switch 2, of course, but they haven't announced that yet. But you bet it's going to be on the Switch 2 if it comes out before then.
Yeah, that would
And
be.
I'm going to leave the absolute best one for you, sir. Take it away. This one got me geeking when I saw it.
You know, I actually don't have any personal like connection to this franchise.
Really?
Really, I was always Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've heard of this, but I've legitimately never seen a piece of this media before. So maybe it would be better coming from your mouth. I don't know. What do you think?
I'll do it. So Dutch developer, Blast Zero announced that they'll be making a brand new 2D action RPG based on the 90s anime Samurai Pizza Cat. Like, just saying it out loud is crazy to me.
I know.
A Dutch developer has decided in 2025 that they will make a 2D action RPG based on Samurai Pizza Cat. Of all franchise that they can pick to IP, they pick Samurai Pizza Cat.
Why not?
You know what? Why not indeed? Let's take a look at that trailer. Because I lied. This was the trailer that I was most excited about.
A video game. 30 years later, and these old-fashioned furballs are getting a new video game.
This is from the actual anime.
I was gonna say this looks incredible.
I think they're gonna reuse some clips and stuff too in the game and make like retrofit it.
I was gonna say this looks authentic because it is, huh?
Because it is. Oh, wait till you see the actual game too.
I feel like I'm gonna get copyright striked for this.
No, you shouldn't. These are all like dialogues for the game.
I know. But they are all reused clips from a video game or from a TV shoot. So I don't know. We'll see.
Fair use?
Maybe? I don't know. Are they gonna show off any gameplay here? I hope so.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's coming up.
So, the big cheese is up to his old
This is kind of like the introduction, and then they'll show you the gameplay.
When the game gets tough, you know who to call.
We are the Samurai Pizza
Samurai Pizza Cat! There you go. Look at this!
This looks so ridiculous. I love it though. Oh man, this is gonna be. Is this gonna be like a little Ganbare Goemon kind of?
I think so.
Game.
I think so.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine if Konami actually did a Ganbare Goemon?
You know, all bets
I would be so happy.
With Konami now. The present day Konami, all bets are off. They can do all kinds of crazy things, or they can revert back to their NFT pinball self.
Yeah, we'll see.
Know. Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
But boy, that was dangerous. This is bad for my health. I saw the trailer. I thought it was like, is it April already? Like, what? I thought they were kidding. I'm like, who's what? Samurai Pizza Cat. This game is called Samurai Pizza Cat's Blast from the Past. It is going to be out sometimes in 2026 on all major platforms. Hopefully the Switch 2 as well. But yeah, I was grinning like just ear to ear, man. Like this thing is crazy, and it's not even just like they're just banking on your nostalgia. Like the game genuinely looks really good in the art just now, and they show you actual gameplay, and it looks good. So I can't wait to see what the final product actually looks like. I'm so excited for this.
All right.
Yes. So we've got one final piece of news before we move on to super chats and all that fun stuff. And that is industry news. Square
That's
Enix will
right.
host the NieR series 15th anniversary live stream on April 19th at 4 a.m. In Eastern time, because this is meant for Japan. But you can always watch the VOD, I guess, afterwards. Well, the broadcast itself will include some of the latest events, merchandise celebrating the series anniversary, and also a mini concert. And if there's anything you need to know about the NieR series, the music is top notch. Top notch. I've gone to like 2 of their concerts already, and boy, it is an experience. So we're going to include the YouTube link in the description so that you can click on it on a later date. So you don't have to spend too much time trying to find it. You can bookmark it, do whatever you need. But it's going to be April 19th at 4 a.m. Eastern time, and that's 3 a.m. Central time. So I don't know. I guess if you can't sleep, you can always click into it and try to watch the mini concert.
Or maybe just catch the highlights the next day.
I'm hoping that they announce like some kind of new like NieR game, because Yoko Taro has been very cryptic about working on a new game.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a new NieR game. I will freak out if they make a new NieR game.
You're just gonna shadow drop a new NieR 3, huh?
Yeah, just well, I mean, it's the 15th anniversary of the celebration, so it's not like a bad time to announce something like this.
Mm-hmm.
We never know. We never know.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get Derek to play NieR Automata so that
I'll get there someday. Once everybody can agree on what game I should play next, I'll do it.
Dang. Or finish, Silent Hill 2. Speaking of, we're well past 800 followers, man. That's crazy. We're well on our way to the milestone.
We are 200 subscribers away from second stream of Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2.
Love it.
Yeah. It is. But how do you feel having played it? I haven't even played it.
It's not so bad, honestly. I kind of like it. Yeah, I actually like it quite a bit. But
that's the new Konami for you, man. That's part of the package.
That's right. They did do that too. Weird.
Yeah. On a separate piece of news, and I was going to bring that up, but I forgot. But now that we somehow cycle back to it, I was going to say on the new Konami front, there is a tiny industry news because Silent Hill 2 did so well. Konami has announced in conjunction with Blooper that they are going to pursue new games. So I am excited to see what else Konami is going to cook with them.
Nice.
Yeah, they've announced they're like, yo, we did so well that we're going to do something else. So what that something else is, we don't know. But
that's awesome.
We do. Konami, man, this is the new Konami. They're like, hey, let's try to repeat our success. Let's see if we can do something.
I dig it. I dig it.
I'm there for it. Yeah.
All right. So before we wind down, we do have some questions to respond to from Super Chat. Well, maybe not necessarily questions, but some chats that did come in from Super Chats. Some of which were actually just a couple of stickers from Anthony. Much appreciated. And one of those was a cute looking fox. And they said that they wanted to play this game right, meow. And I appreciate that pun. Next up, from Eagle Knight, they threw out here, I just pledged for the collector's edition, talking about Alterium Shift. And they love the fact that they're offering a collector's edition, and they say they totally support it. Looking forward to the finished product, and so am I.
Yeah.
And then another one here from Anthony H, who says, epic comeback, Konami. Let's go. We are back, baby.
Oh my God.
So
that is also not in my bingo cards. Like, I did not expect Konami to just like bounce back.
I remember a hashtag trending constantly about 10 years ago when I was starting my YouTube channel. And one of those, well, I don't even really need to say what it was, but I'll just say it started with F and ended with Konami. And it was just always like trending because of some bad practices not that long ago. So I'm glad to see that things are turning around, and yeah, let's go.
Maybe they clean house and get a proper reset. Who knew what they did? But whatever they did, man, it's kind of working.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's a fluke.
Yeah. I don't know. Once is a fluke, twice might be a coincidence. 3 is a pattern. So
I agree.
So moving along, we also have some they were super messages, but they were just messages from the last episode in the comments section here that we pulled through. And one of them here is from Shadow King 1982, says, I won't give a PC game a chance for the most part because I hate to sit at my desk. And I get that. And I think that that's personally one reason that the Steam Deck has just kind of blown up so much the way that it has over these years, because it has essentially turned a huge library of decent games, quality games, top tier games, and it's put them all into that. Well, I would call it a handheld factor, and it is technically handheld, but it is much bigger than like a Switch. It's like someone saw the meme of like the Duke controller from Xbox original, and they're like, bet.
That is the very apt description.
It is, it's, so it's basically the Duke controller version of a Game Gear that can happen to play a whole freaking load of PC games. Now, I do think that if Valve really wanted to capitalize on us console gamers, and I think they should make a console version of the Steam Deck. Just same exact internal hardware, just set it, just take off the screen, take off the controller, pair it with a controller, maybe, or you could just use your own console controller, maybe, and sync it up, but then just have an HDMI output port, plug it into a TV, make it a console. Like there's no reason not to, and there's a whole lot of console gamers out there, just like Shadow King, who
and it allows you to link to your Steam login, and your entire library is downloadable on your console machine. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
I would buy that, actually.
Yeah, it would be so
I
good.
would.
And of course, it could also probably, for PC gamers, it'd be a great endpoint for like just streaming your local PC games to your console. Like, it'd just be so easy to kind of fill in that niche there, but they haven't done that yet, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to ask, like, why don't you just build like a, like, what are those PCs called again? HD PC?
Like an HT PC? Those things aren't even like in vogue anymore.
Yeah, well,
there are some things you can do, but
yeah, it's like, why don't you just build something like a HT PC where you, instead of a home theater, it would just be like a tiny console replacement, right?
Steam Deck OS though.
Do that.
Steam Deck OS goes a long way to make and getting things that are deck compatible. Like that's a huge quality of life improvement that some people just don't have to worry about whether it's going to work or not, or compatibility issues. There's so many reasons that having a Steam machine, so to speak, would be, a game changer for a lot of people.
Absolutely. It's the same reason why consoles still exist. Period.
It is the reason consoles exist, and it's the reason Steam Deck is doing so well. It's not just because it's a small computer, because Neo has been doing those for ages. And oh gosh, who's the maker of the small like palm tops that had controllers built into those? I can't remember their name anymore, but they've been making them for ages, and they were super boutique and relatively underpowered, but like they could play PC games in your hand, and it wasn't enough to make it big until Steam Deck made something that worked with the infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a package. You can't just do like one or two things. You have to do like all of it. and all of it well, and Steam got it.
Surprise. So
Surprise.
next up, Roosevelt, with some numbers, said it's a judgment cut end reference from Devil May Cry, not Omni Slash. Baku, jeez. You play a lot of action games and hack and slash games. You see a lot of games reference Devil May Cry and other action games like Stellar Blade. Had a couple too.
Mhm.
We
I messed up there. I
How
just call
dare
everything.
you.
Everything is just only slash to me. I'm sorry. I
Well,
am
did it ever
uncultured
occur to you,
and-
Baku, that DMC was just a reference to Omni Slash with guns?
Oh no! Oh, now you're really gonna piss off a bunch of Capcom fans, sir. Oh, you're about to get canceled. You're gonna go on an apology tour. No, but thank you for letting us know. Like, it's just I've never played the Devil May Cry series. I've seen people play the Devil May Cry series, but I haven't personally played it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I appreciate it. So if you guys got some factoid, don't be afraid to send them in. I love reading them.
Yeah. Fire Breather says, I just watched the Tides of Annihilation gameplay trailer. This game looks so awesome. They say, I'm not really into Souls likes, but I love character action games like Devil May Cry.
There it is.
And we
again.
need more of those.
Mhm.
They say, I also can't wait for Godshard Chronicles, one of my most anticipated indies for sure. Thank you guys so much for the great interview. Well, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Always
Thank
happy to interview awesome indies and even Drattzy Games.
And even Drattzy Games. I mean, I like
no.
Drass. I don't know about that Mottzy guy though. You know.
No, they were
we love
great,
them.
and they were
Yeah,
they were
no,
so awesome to come on here,
they
and
were
they were
great.
so flexible. So
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah,
it was
we appreciate them rescheduling like last minute. We just reached out yesterday. It's like, hey, would you guys be? I know it's last minute, but can you come by? They're like, yeah, sure, man. We'll make time.
and then
So-
hanging on for like an entire 45 minutes later than we told them. Oh yeah.
Oh jeez. Oh yeah. We're never getting them back on again. They're never coming back. They're like, yeah, no thanks. I remember what happened last time.
So, but hey, that does it for tonight's show. I hate to wrap things up so quickly, but I also have some little pupper out there I need to start helping out with. And
Yeah.
if you enjoyed today's show, I hope you did. If you did, be sure to follow the link in the description to support Drattzy Games on their Kickstarter or wishlist them over on Steam. Also, be sure to give us a thumbs up if you liked it, because hey, that really does help, and so do comments like hobbitses. Comments down below are also super cool, and whatever platform you listen on, whether that be Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, it's always nice to get positive feedback. So thank you again, everybody. Have a great rest of your
Voicemail.
day. Nope,
Voicemail.
don't have any voicemails. Oh,
Voicemail
you
number.
could leave us a voicemail though if you wanted to. Yeah, you could leave us one. Here, let me pull up the number here just so people can see it. Not that I forgot what our number was, but I just want to make sure I don't accidentally say a different number. You can reach us at 785-337-3805, or you could leave us a file over at hitpoint@superdarkrpgs.com, and yeah, we'll play it on air and respond to it. But until then, guys, Baku, any final thoughts for the people?
No, not really. I'm just still thinking about Alterium Shift right now. So I'm
All
gonna.
right.
Yep, that's it for me.
Have a good night, everybody.
Goodbye.